Hello, everyone, and welcome to Graders Notes, everyone's favorite bi-weekly show here on YouTube, at least that is in our own minds. This is the show where we take apart usually a comic book, in this case a movie, and really get down to the nitty-gritty to find out what makes that book tick and to see if it's worthy of all of its accolades. So I think most of you at this point know all of our distinguished panelists here, but we'll go ahead and do some quick introductions. The man who is standing up to my right, your left, Mr. Comic 84. Hey, say hi to the people, will you?
Yo, what's up, people? We're back. Genome Presents is hosting the movie edition of Graders Notes. Every now and then we throw you for a loop, man. We can Graders Notes anything, can't we? Next we're gonna do meals. We're gonna do Graders Notes on different cuisines.
Yep. Graders Note haiku. Yep.
Hotels, anything. We can do it all.
We need some sponsors, right? Yeah, get some of those dollars.
The man directly beneath me, that's a cosmic joke or not there, Mr. Miracle Dave. Say hi to us from up north there, will you?
Hi from up north. This is so it's a movie. We watched it. We created it.
Uh-oh. Bad tidings approaching? Who knows?
I'm kind of like thinking about this movie a lot since I watched it on Monday. And just been like, looking forward to Graders Notes. There's some good stuff.
Whose thunder? Is that mine? Yeah, that's my thunder. Man, I hope we don't lose power. We had a really rainstorm over there. I thought it was coming over my headphones. Dave brought up a great salient point, too. This is the second. We've done two movies. This is the second one on Graders Notes, and both of them have been Dolph Lungren movies. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a man crush on him or something. I don't know. But anyway, man crush notwithstanding, everyone knows the ambassador to the comics community.
Yeah, speaking of man crushes.
Elder statement. Oh, yeah. Everyone's got the crush on that. The man with the mustache. Tom Selleck wishes he could be him. Medrog. Medrog, say hi to everybody, will you?
Oh, I don't know if I can sleep tonight after all this effusive praise. Thank you, my friends. Thank you, Gino. Well, yeah, I think we're kind of like coming into Genome's territory here because talk about, a movie reviewer extraordinaire. The three of us, we can hold our own, but Gino, man, that the man has like the pulse on Hollywood. I mean, they all wait until 10 years afterwards and say, Gino, we got to review us. That's how much of a pulse he has on Hollywood. But yeah, it's great to be here. Another, this is actually a comic book character, originally. So I think it's going to be something that I think the chat is going to be very interested in. Although, is he really the Punisher? That is the question.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 1 second, guys. Hey, actually, I got to answer somebody here, but if you'd be so kind as to introduce the chat for us, we can go ahead and get our first category started.
Absolutely. We have, again, by the way, we're going to announce the contest after the second category here on this episode. Okay. So I think we're going script and acting, guys. So after the acting, we're going to announce the winner of the Graders Notes fabulous entry contest. All right?
Yeah, halftime show.
Halftime show. That's right. So stick around because you're not going to miss it. The fireworks will be there. At the beginning, I believe he was tailgating one of the aforementioned entrants into the Graders Notes contest. Scott 424 Neely in here real quick. Tim the comic collector, DC specialist, but he did a Marvel book for us. Also,
he did.
Right here in the chat. We got Matt Woods in here. How you doing, Matt? One of those rising chat superstars. Comic Mad Musings, another gentleman who did an outstanding entry into our contest.
Yes, he did.
Mr. Miracle's in here. I don't know what this guy's doing in here.
I'm here.
And of course, our compatriot, part of the Graders Notes full-time, not the best pinch hitter, the best Graders Notes guy. He is full-time as far as I'm concerned. Unruly Simeon. We talked to him yesterday. What can you say? The best of the best right there, buddy. And we got him. Speaking of the best of the best, the A-OK master from Florida, Steve Whiting, is in here.
Stone Cold.
When this man misses a Graders Notes, that there's a wedding, or there's a bar mitzvah or something going on, because never
Mazel tov.
never misses the Graders Notes. James Gallegos, a chat superstar from New Mexico, one of my favorite guys, very supportive of all of us here and the rest of this community. Jeff Schultz, how you doing, my friend?
Yo, Jeff.
And of course, J Hood Creative is in here, another entrant. I think the first entrant into the Graders Notes contest, and a great friend of all of us as well. And I think I saw somebody else down here. Well, I think that's it for now.
Matt Woods, the man with the best comic room in the business, man. I love his setup. I gotta get me some 3/4 inch marine grade plywood. I'm gonna build me some comic cases too.
Oh man,
and all this neat comic books to put in them.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, thank you for those introductions there, sir. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Once again, we are going to be going over 1989's magnum opus of the comic book movie, The Punisher. I had not seen this movie since about 1989, so I was very eager to get back into it. I remember liking it when I was younger, but then again, I didn't have a lot of choices when it came to comic book stuff. So, you either had the comic books or this. So, let's see how well it held up to 2020's cast of characters here. So, as was alluded to earlier, we're going to go ahead and start with the script/story first. Each of us could get around 2 minutes. Might go a little bit longer on this first part just because there's usually a lot to go over. And then we'll go over things such as the acting, production, and the source accuracy. This is actually a really interesting duck. And I say duck as a perfect allegory here because this was, if I'm not mistaken, the second Marvel movie, correct? I believe this was the second one made because Howard the Duck was the first, like
Howard the Duck was the first,
5 or 6.
That's the first Marvel movie?
I think it's the third one.
You think it was the third?
Yeah.
Well, we're talking theatrical release, right?
Yeah, theatrical. I know the Captain America movie was around the same time, if not maybe a little earlier, but that was like
No,
a
that was
Mexican
TV movie.
production.
That
Was that TV?
That was made for TV, yeah. Oh, no, that would never make it to theater.
No, he had a rubber suit, as I recall reading about that. But, so, all right. So
One
let's...
more. Blade. Was Blade before this one?
No.
Blade was...
That was 90s. I think mid to late 90s, I believe.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, Blade was a little after. Yeah, I thought so too, but when I looked it up, it was a little after. Yeah.
In fact, was Blade before the first Spider-Man? I'm not sure. That one's close, I think.
I think so. Yeah, but somebody will tell us in the chat. No problem.
All right. So, yes, our chat is, of course, the fifth grader and the most important part of our show. We will definitely include you where appropriate on there, and you will get your chance to score each category after we are done with it. So, seeing as to his excitement for this movie, I think we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Marigold today. Dave, what did you think about the script and story? Of course, I asked that after you got done stuffing your mouth full of Canadian venison or whatever that is up there. So,
by the way, real quick, Matt Woods and what about Conan the Barbarian?
Conan.
Yeah, but that was kind of like public domain, though.
Yeah.
That's really Robert and Howard. Yeah, so that wasn't really more
a Marvel character.
That point, yeah.
That is close. So, all right. Do you want to go next, Mr. Miracle? Or are you done with your movie popcorn?
I'm good.
All right. So here we go.
Scripting. Scripting. Why? Oh my God! This is like man. I gotta say, like right from the hop, that New World Pictures came on. I was like, oh no, oh no. That's like watching a movie made by Saddam Hussein's production company. I mean, they bought Marvel Comics and ruined them, right? Like they're the bane of collectors' existence. Those bastards. Them. It's their fault that Avi Arad sold Spider-Man to Sony. I mean, it's the whole thing. They jumped in there, and I guess they took over this picture. And they were like, no, we're cutting your budget because we're nothing but a direct-to-video thing, and we're going to cut your release. And I don't know if they took like all the budget out of the script and just decided to like give it to a bunch of grade 10s to give it a shot. Like every single cliche trope in the whole deal, man. 80s, like I get it. It's the one-man army scenario. They're trying to like get that commando, Cobra kind of feel going from back in the 80s kind of deal. But no, man, like too much stuff. Like they're fighting the gangsters, they're fighting yakuzas, they're fighting ninjas, they're fighting frogmen, they're fighting drug dealers, and like, was it the same guy that wrote the Masters of the Universe script? Like, is it because they gotta have this trope of the weird character guy. Like this, he was some drunk actor guy that was put in there. Last time it was Grimley or Grimwald or whatever the heck it was. I mean, honestly, the only thing that we got spared from in this script, from being so cliche, was that it lacked a love interest for the Punisher. Thank goodness, because I was expecting that at some point. You know, maybe he was going to turn around and kiss the Japanese girl or the white girl ninja that was in there for some reason. And I was like, what the heck? Where did she come from? And why are all these Japanese guys listening to her? Right? Confusing. Like, I mean, kudos on the death count. Like, I'm all for gratuitous violence in a movie, especially a B movie. But this movie is like a D- movie on the scripting, and they just were like, okay, get him to say some shit and then kill a bunch of people. That's what we need, and then we'll move on. He'll say something to the drunk guy. He'll come around, say something, and then they'll kill a bunch of people. I mean, the body count in this movie, holy smokes! I read a little bit online, and it was, I guess it's over 90. And, you know, I was trying to kind of count while I was looking at it, going, man, there's like guys getting whacked like left, right, and center in this thing. I think I stopped counting. I kind of got distracted and stopped counting around 30 or so, but that wasn't even close to the end of the movie. So there was dumb stuff in here, shooting up the casino. Like the frogmen ninjas kind of blew the whole thing for me. They're trying to carry $500 million worth of heroin in a small boat that's being transferred into 2 small vans. And I don't know how much $500 million worth of heroin is in $1980 or $1990 when this movie was made. It's got to be more than 2 little fucking Chevy vans worth. And in the meanwhile, like all of a sudden the Punisher's getting ready to do his thing. You're like, okay, it's going to go down. You know, the Punisher's going to screw up their drug deal, kill a bunch of gangsters. Oh no, wait a minute, where are these frog guys coming? Okay, now why are these frog guys throwing ninja stars and knives and like kicking people? And I'm like, they're ninjas, and then yakuzas, and like the whole script got weird, man. Having them live underground, like, do you really think the Punisher's gonna live in a sewer? No, man. I guess it's time out. I could literally gripe about this script for the next 2 hours, man. Awful, cliche, confusing, cliche again. Like, I don't know what to say about it. It was just, I gave the script a big 1, like a 1. It only got a 1 for gratuitous violence because it had plenty of that, although not a drop of blood anywhere, right? Like, really, you get shot with a M60, like a 7.62 millimeter bullet to the chest, and there's not a drop of blood. Right? Anyway, 1.
All right, 1. We're tromping on Aliens vs. Predator territory here. My goodness. All right, so starting this off with the proverbial bang, pun intended. We'll see if the other graders tend to soften up a little bit. So let's go to one of our more neutral commentators, Kenny. What was your take on the carnage that was on the celluloid here? Was the story worthy of the name?
Man, you know, I'm not sure if when my man Miracle signed up for this movie, if he thought he was signing up for like Citizen Kane or some political thriller. This movie was fun, brother. F-U-N, fun, very comic book-esque, you know. I will grant him that it's the kind of movie that you don't want to pick apart logic, right? Too much. But guess what? The same thing applies to most comic book stories that we read. So I apply those points depending on the movie that I'm watching, you know. So when I sign up for, and I got to be honest, I was trying my best in grading this movie not to be biased because I have a total sweet spot and am a fanboy for 80s, 80s action movies. So I love these movies, Bloodsport, Rambos, Conans. This movie fits in that same bill. So like, I always just have such a good time with these movies, and I embrace the cheesiness of it. So yeah, all that kind of stuff didn't bother me. So the action and the pace of this movie, to me, was really impressive. Sometimes some of these movies can be like a slog. When it's a comic book movie, it's like the good parts are when our heroes on screen fighting bad guys, and then you get a bunch of boring, filler characters in between, and you got to slog through like cop banter about the guy, and then lame ass villain banter and love interest banter until you get to the shit you want to see, which is the action and your hero doing cool stuff. But I gotta say, the lame cop banter was in the. I don't know the actor who played the main detective, the bald black dude, but good actor. He's not annoying. The girl was the up and coming detective, but she was so minimal in the movie. I love the fact that it went from he's going after the crime boss guys, and out of nowhere, dude, I forgot that this was a part of the movie. Honestly, out of nowhere, the Yakuza's in the mix, and like the Yakuza's taking down the crime bosses for the Punisher. I don't think that's cookie cutter to throw such a crazy wild card in until in the end it kind of culminates into like both factions kind of being in the equation. So I thought that was creative. I thought that was interesting. This was a cool 90 minutes. Pacing was good. Didn't slog. Lot of action scenes, which I guess I got to give credit to the script for that. They looked pretty good. The frogman ninja scene was one of the best to me. All kind of like boot knives that came out. All the Yakuza people had these little knives that would come out of their boots so they could slap you when they kicked. That was great. That was all through the frogman scene. At the end, it culminates into Punisher having to infiltrate a dojo full of like samurai dudes, and it culminates into the final boss battle with the female white girl ninja, which that's not very stereotypical. That was like, whoa. And he snaps her neck. The scene where he snaps her neck and she just drops, like they're doing a big battle, then everything slows down. He quietly snaps her neck. She drops to the floor, and it's like a quiet moment. It was kind of eerie. I was like, that was cool. That was kind of like artistic to me. Cool. It was dope. His accomplice was annoying as hell. A full point is coming off for the annoying sidekick. Where was Microchip? Why is this drunk bum, this drunk failed theater nerd bum, Frank Castle's right-hand man, forget intel? How does he get the intel? Why would Punisher hang around this jabroni? He has him riding on the back of his motorcycle. Punisher would never do that. He was so annoying. So he was bad for the script. But most of the other stuff was good. It was right what I wanted to see, dude. Kick-ass action. Dude, it was a 3.5 in script.
Drunk.
3.5. I knew what I was signing up for, and they delivered.
All right.
Not drinking gin when you watch these.
Yeah, it makes you want to go work out, doesn't it? It's like watching Rocky when I got picking a fight with somebody, right?
Yeah.
That's how people got their ass beat all through the generations. So,
hey, brother, I hear you. Like, I'm a fan of 80s movies. Commando, awesome. Bloodsport, I've seen Bloodsport more times than I could possibly count.
Yeah.
I hate these 80s
movies. I'm gonna punish this movie pretty hardly in some other categories, but the script isn't one of them because I don't think the script was the biggest failure of the flick.
I guarantee you, we watched this on video when I was a kid. I can't remember, but this is the kind of movie that my dad would turn off and be like, "That was great." I'm like,
that's right. Listen to your old man.
Well, speaking of elder statement, I won't say old man. Roger, what was your take on the script and story of this movie? Was Frank all you'd hoped he'd be, or was it really just Dolph in disguise?
Well, I guess I'm coming at it from a different point of view. I sort of see where Kenny and Mr. Miracle are coming from, but me, when I see The Punisher, right, this was not released in the US, I don't believe. I saw this on VHS, I think, in the early 90s, right? But when I see The Punisher, I think of the comic book, right? Either at this point you had, his appearances in Spider-Man, you had his miniseries and his ongoing series, and then the other offshoots. So I thought, hey, cool, hey, Cobby. I thought that, I was, in my mind, I was watching for that Punisher, right? I didn't get a Punisher. I got kind of like a Death Wish kind of vigilante more than the Punisher. I see where Kenny's from. You don't come in here thinking, well, this is some Oscar nominee or anything like that. I understand that. But I still need to have some kind of connection to either the plot or the character or a moral, and there is really none of that. It's all the script is there to get you from one action scene to the next and have some kind of connection, right? Which is sometimes okay, but when you take a source matter and you change it to this degree, comic nerds like me are going to be like this, right? I'm going to be very critical. I mean, some people in the chat thought the same thing I did. I wanted the payoff. I wanted to see that skull at some point, right? I wanted to say, well, okay, I understand when he's in public, he doesn't want to have a skull. I mean, obviously, if they think that he is dead, he wants to remain incognito. But at some point, I think, that would, instill fear. Oh my God, it's the Punisher. And that sort of is part of his psychological edge and how he can get away with being shot at by various angles and not, being hurt, even though he has, Kevlar or whatever. But in this movie, we got a lot of disjointed story. We don't know again, I'm talking about the release that I saw, right? You had no backstory in his family. You didn't know about the relationship until later on. You didn't even know that the mob was the people that blew up his car. I know because I read the comic books. But in this one, it's sort of inferred kind of like off the cuff. You don't have really a foundation for a relationship with the Louis Gossett Jr., his partner for all those years. You don't have, where does he get all these weapons from? How does he fund himself? Where does he get these skills? He was a cop. In the comics, he was a Marine. He was a skilled jungle combatant. He was, he did countless incursions. So he built those skills. None of that. So there's no connectivity between the script and what we saw on screen. It was just one action scene after another. And I agree with Kenny. The action scenes I thought were pretty well done. I mean, I like the weird, circular, the like pinwheel things that they threw. The characters were not incredibly interesting, but that it's an action movie. Again, I didn't expect it to be high level brow stuff. But I needed more foundation. I needed more story. I needed a more connectivity to the Frank Castle that I know as a comic nerd for me to really invest in and care about the story. It's very cookie cutter, very predictable. Had a few kind of okay scenes with the kids and the lesson that he showed him at the end. But again, there was no foundation for that really. It just sort of was there. So again, there are other parts I'm going to complain about, but the script, it got you where you wanted to go, but man, it was so disconnected and so incoherent at parts because you just didn't know all the facts. I'm not going to give it a 1 because I think it was at least. I like the fact that they had, him fighting all these different factions, right? And that he, obviously had something going on that impulsed him to do this. Although the acting is a whole other case. And the kid angle was, I think, a little bit different. But I can't give this any more, and I'm stretching it to give it a 2.
All right, a 2 from the Elder Statesman.
My man, Roger.
So he's bringing up he's the voice of reason in this one. That's almost a serviceable. So we're getting somewhere.
Again, you can't expect you can't expect Citizen Kane. I mean, so my standards were lower, but this was really down there.
I will say this: the character is rich enough that with the proper directing and production and budget, it could be Citizen Kane. This was a deep character that could have a real emotional connection to the audience, especially the ones who knew the character. They just didn't make an action shoot 'em up movie, but
nobody wants a Citizen Kane Punisher movie. Trust me.
Right.
But I could at least have like Commando level, right? Like I could at least have, a good action movie.
Oh, this movie blew Commando out of the water as an action movie. Are you kidding me?
Hey, let's not get
Are
ahead of
you kidding?
Go ahead. Well, elaborate on that.
There's plenty of time for discussing that.
Yeah, elaborate on that. What you got, man?
Well, let's go ahead and I guess elaborate. We can start from there. All right. This movie reminds me a lot of like the Hellraiser series. They took a lot of those straight to DVD and straight to video kind of productions that were never a Hellraiser story to begin with and slapped the Hellraiser name on it and threw the Cenobites in there, right? This movie kind of feels like that. This movie feels a lot like it was written as something else, just another generic 80s movie, action movie, and then they just slapped the Punisher name on it, for some property recognition. All that being said, I loved it, man. I was really surprised, not at the depth of the movie, but just how coherent it was and how cohesive and the pacing of it was really good. Basically, there's just two plots in this movie, and they converge at the same place. You have Frank versus the old school Italian mafia. I think the lead mobster was Swedish or Finnish or something like that. That's funny. But and then Yakuza, that's the secondary, and it all comes to a head at the end, and both problems are taken care of. There's a third aspect in there, no one else mentioned too. Well, it was mentioned a little bit, was the kid aspect, because until this point, we see Frank as a completely dehumanized character. He has nothing. He has no humor. He has no emotion for anything. He tries not to do collateral damage, but if it is, it is, right? But you bring the kids into it, and you can kind of slowly see that he does care in a way. He does go and save them. And it's not because of the father, or he's not doing it for any adults. He's kind of just doing it for him. That's his code. He lost his family. So I kind of like that. It was real understated, but it was there. This is not high art. This thing is bombastic. This thing is, it should have a big neon sign that says 80s right on the box cover, because this just epitomizes 80 action, man. Just ridiculously over the top action sequences. But unlike most, this one is not full of incredibly choppy edits. There's some long, lingering, great fight scenes. These are some of the best fight scenes ever seen in an action movie, because all of it was real. They actually got real martial artists in there, not just stunt guys, right? Dolph Lungren himself is a pretty accomplished martial artist. So there's a lot of really cool set pieces. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. I mean, he is a one-man army. I think Miracle said earlier, he's a one-man army. When I remember one of the best scenes in there is the dang amusement park scene, right? He fights off like 50 dudes. You got dudes sliding down like skee ball freaking ramps, shooting machine guns all at the same time. You got guys zip lining down, shooting machine guns and tossing grenades. It's crazy, man. And Frank beats the hell out of a bunch of people. He doesn't just shoot them. He just, oh man, I just love the portrayal of his physicality. He just never gives up. He's surrounded by like 6, 7, 8 guys, and he's still fighting. He's down. He's already been whipped, and he's still punching guys. It's not going to get him out of there. So I like that. They really got to capture the essence of him pretty well. But the story, it's simple as can be. You got 2 sets of bad guys. I really like the inclusion of the Yakuza in this. It turned what could have been a really boring kind of, just real trope. We're going to fight the bad Italian mob, kind of story, which is kind of his roots anyway, to be honest with you, from like the first couple, over the first part of his run till he got to bigger and better things. But I don't know. I kind of dug it. But they were really cool because, and this will get kind of into the acting section, but like the Yakuza, it's led by 2 females, basically. Completely unheard of in Japan, right? So that was kind of an interesting aspect. And they were played real cool. They weren't like the leering, sneering, kind of Stanley Whiplash kind of bad guys. They're real quiet, real reserved. And they definitely had a sense of menace about them. But not having Microchip made 0 sense. That's an easy character. Like all Punisher characters should be easy to realize on cinema because they're just people, right? So no Microchip, no battle van. Punisher does not sleep in sewers. He always stayed in warehouses, that sort of thing. That was his shtick. He liked the old abandoned warehouses, right? Him not having friends makes sense. That's how he is in the books. Even with Microchip, he never sat there and exchanged pleasantries with Micro. He just got the info he needed and then the weapons he needed, and he moved on, right? That's just him. And the Garth Ennis series is the same way. He was real dour in that one. He had the one detective, was it Soap, I believe it was, that he was always I always thought he was blackmailing him or something, but that's the guy he was working with. But he was never nice to him. He was never cordial. Got what he needed and left. So, this movie did what it needed to do, kept things moving. You know, I think it's about 90-minute runtime, which is typical at the time, and gave you great action scenes, great fight scenes. That's the best part of the movie for me. A couple things were way too long, like him blowing up the casino was getting on my nerves, man. It's like, cut that scene by like 5 minutes, because all he did was sit there and shoot at freaking Saw for about 5 straight minutes, blowing up machines. But this movie lets you know what it is right out the gate. He sits there and he blows up the freaking opening credits. He just shoots everything, man. So you know what you get into. I liked it. I give it a 3.5. Like I said, it's not high art, but it does what it needs to do for this movie. So would I've liked to seen more, character development or a less talky, less Dolph Lundgren-y Punisher? Yeah, but it is what it is. We got what we got. So 3.5. I think it's pretty solid.
You're nuts.
Cool.
That's what I'm saying.
Cool.
So we got a little bit of consensus there. So, all right. So you've heard our grades, but now it's time for the 5th grader to cast their votes. Tell us what you think in the comments. We'll tabulate your scores shortly, and we're going to have a quick discussion while Dave probably tears into us here.
Well, I left this on the bone, but man, now that nobody mentioned it in their turn, the biggest plot hole in the whole thing, he teams up with the mafia guy that kills his family. Wait a minute, isn't that the guy that makes you, that's the whole reason you're the friggin' Punisher? And here you're like, okay, let's get them Yakuza guys. They team up, and then they're like, Power Rangers, form up. Like, come on, man. They could have had a hug scene at the end of that shit. I was like, no, Punisher's not going to do this. If he thinks those Yakuza guys have his kid, he'll shoot that guy and then go save his kid, drop him off in front of the building.
But I'm going to make the contention that most of the complaints that I think I'm hearing, that even included, I think are more going to be penalties in the source accuracy.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing inherently wrong in the script that he teams up with this guy just so he can get through this Yakuza warehouse.
Yeah,
with the intention of smoking him later, which he does.
It basically takes the character's entire motivation and just fucking throws it out the window. Like, the Punisher, his whole motivation for being the Punisher is that dude blew up his family.
Was it him personally? I don't know.
Well, yeah, you see, if you see the extended cut, it wasn't really him. It was the first guy he killed.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that
but
his organization or whatever.
This was his boss, and he has infiltrated organizations and worked with them temporarily before. That's not the part that bothered me. The part that bothered me is that he didn't have a plan for knocking the guy off. He fell into that trap. Frank would never trust him like that. He would have had him double-crossed way before he would have thought of it. That's the part that bothered me.
And why wasn't that guy the Kingpin?
Well, you can't kill the Kingpin, so.
Yeah.
Now there was that point right before they go and try to rescue the kids, and then in the tower, he does say, "When this is over, you're dead." So he's just using this guy as to help him get through the guys. He doesn't know how many people are up there. That's my thought of it.
But if it wasn't for the kid interrupting him, the monster would have knocked him off. So Frank would have had a plan for that. He would have absolutely been able to take him out. He would have had some knife ready or some poison, something to get rid of him before he would have been, timed it. So
then they couldn't have had their other cliche trope where they wrestle for the gun and the gun goes off and then
he shoots him like a few feet, nothing. Then right here. Anyway. All right, Kenny, you ready?
Yeah.
You doing it? I can do it too. It doesn't matter.
All right, here we go. Scott gives it 3 full moons. I guess that's a 3. Ooh, D-Runk, 0.5.
You got him, Gino? Italian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve
right off from the Abacus.
You're the movies. You have a break.
What was that, Raj? What was that last one? I got the 0.5.
1.5.
1.5.
1.5. Yeah. Our buddy Unruly gives it a 3. Matt Woods gives it 3. Okay, he gives it a 3. Okay, I don't know what to do. James Gallego says as a Punisher movie, a 1. As an action movie, a 3.
2.2.
All right, we'll get to Stay Puff. How you doing, Sean? 2.5. Mark Knapp, how you doing, Mark? 2. And Bill gives it a 2.5.
That it?
That's it.
Okay, give me 1 second here. Comes out to about a 2.
2.
Bedrock nailed it. Not quite serviceable in the chat's eyes, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Unfortunately, this might be actually one of the easier or the higher scores on for some of the panel, so maybe it doesn't bode too well. But we're working it. I just there's not really a spot to talk about. But what do you guys think about the fight scenes, man? Physically, I thought they were great. Frank was brutal, man.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah.
I didn't think they were great. I thought they were good. But I think they're great. I think they were a little slow to me. It seemed like a little too choreographed to me.
Yeah, I can see that. Because he's so tall and lanky. I never pictured Punisher as like a tall, towering kind of like, because he's not like super buff in this. He's kind of like lean. Yeah. So it's like a body physique you don't think of with the Punisher. So it's weird.
I like the fact that
to me it looked like they were like, let's practice this for an hour. Okay, now let's shoot it. Right? Like they didn't, like when you see big fight scenes in movies, those actors spend days, sometimes weeks practicing those scenes. To me, it looked like these guys might have shown up a couple hours early and go over it. Right?
They probably shot this movie in about 3 weeks, so there's not a whole lot of time for those multi-day choreographs.
You're right.
I did like the fact that they had the balls to kill off women. Frank killed off women. He didn't care. He snapped that girl's neck like nothing, man. So he was cold, man. He was cold-blooded.
Dude, how about the scene? I don't know which category to mention this, but I have to point out when they do finally roll up to the Yakuza headquarters, him and the mob guy, the doors open up, and there's like 20 Yakuza samurai type guys. And you think that's like going to be the beginning of this big melee battle. And just the doors open and they just mow them down. And the scene is like 2 minutes. Like all those guys just get mowed down and they just walk on to I'm like, what the hell? It was like comical. Just a bunch of samurais going, dying all in a row. Like
that was more Punisher-esque there. Yeah.
Maybe
that's a limitless Uzi, man. He had silence Uzi. That's another 80s thing there.
Like, hey, cool sword.
It totally reminded me like a late 80s video game like Streets of Rage or Double Dragon, like just these bad guys move to the next section. Oh, here's the boss.
Next level.
Like, the Contra scene where it's vertical, and they just like a
isometric shooter, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I did like something else was kind of cool. If you guys picked it up on it, we're gonna move on to the next category here in a second. It was like in that final scene with Frank's, he's going through the top of the tower there. I liked it when he ran out of dry bullets. He didn't check the gun. He didn't check his pouches. He just tossed it and pulled another gun. He just kept moving forward. I like that too. That's a good aspect of him.
Yeah.
Frank don't care about ammo conservation. Yeah. All right, so Miracle's gonna die over there. He's almost having a McFarlane moment over there. So, all right. So this should cheer him up a little bit. We're gonna move on to acting next. Oh boy, I can't believe the Golden Awards weren't given out to a lot of people in this movie. But that being the case here, let's see what Kenny thought about the acting in this movie. Was this worthy of story and song, or was this best left for a late night TBS?
Oh boy. So the acting now. A good acting performance, I thought good enough, was the Yakuza boss lady. She was probably my favorite acting performance in it. I thought she actually was pretty menacing, pretty believable, as like she was like playing some classical music when they rolled in on her. She like had this way of carrying herself very like aristocratically, but got savage when she needed to. Cool like emotion on her face when she delivered certain lines, because in the end was the scene where she's like holding a kid hostage and she's in her geisha face paint and everything, and there's a lot of uptight close-up scenes in that, so she has to that's you have to have acting chops if a lot of those scenes are going to be like right there. You got it, your face has to do a lot of the work, and I thought she did, man. She played like real maniacal. Hats off to the lady Yakuza boss. Everyone else sucked, acting wise. The the vagrant theatrical bum guy who was his informant, who should have been microchipped, like you said, was just annoying. It was not like, he's like in those 80s movies, there is a lot of the sidekick, comic relief type guy. So it's not the mere fact that he was silly that was like the thing that turned me off. He was just like bad at being silly. He was not charming at all. He was annoying. What a weird concept of like a theatrical, like a drama student theatrical snob is what he sounded like. Very good diction, but also being a drunk vagrant guy who somehow was like zoned in on he was clued in on all the intel of the happenings of the city. But every time you see him, he's like getting thrown out of a bar or hanging in a sewer. So it's like, when are you getting this? So anyway, the acting performance of that guy was just annoying. It was not charming. It was not entertaining. He failed. And Big Dolph, dude, right? So Big Dolph is just, he needs to have Drago type roles. He does look pretty badass in general. Like he's a specimen, But I'll be damned if when that dude opens his mouth, he's not believable in the stuff that he says. He was like the face that he would put on. I do agree that Punisher does, for the most part, need to be emotionless, right? But he's still like a human being. He's just a cold-hearted human being. But like Dolph played him as, because I think someone maybe had said the word like cold killer or heartless or something, and he took that as, let me do serial killer face the whole time. Like his little monologues in the sewer, he sounded like some like plotting serial killer with like this weird monotone voice, and his face just always had like these dead eyes, which I could almost see being close to the mark of kind of like being like dead behind the eyes or something, but he executes it like bad. So it wasn't good. The lines that he does have stink. Like I'll leave on this. There was a line in the script that I kind of thought was cool when Punisher kills the kid's father, the mob boss, in front of the son. And the son grabs a gun and points it at Frank and he's going to kill him. And the line is like, go ahead, do it. Get it out your system now. I'll take the hit for you to get it out your system now so you can move on and like live a normal life or whatever. And the kid drops it and he's like, all right, good. Make sure you don't follow in your father's footsteps or I'm going to come looking for you. And I thought that was kind of cool. Like it almost reminded me of that Kill Bill scene when the bride kills Vivica A. Fox in front of her daughter. And the little girl's like, saw it happen. And she's like, if one day you feel raw about it and you want revenge, I understand. Come find me. It was like almost something like that. But he delivered it so lame. It was like not believable. It was like he blew the line, which could have been a good kind of scene with Frank, with this kid. So Dolph sucks. The acting, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to give it like, I'm going to give it a 1.5. I'm going to give it a 1.5 because the two Yakuza girls were pretty good.
All right, 1.5. And Finn.
Yeah.
Okay, so he liked the Yakuza, wasn't crazy on the pseudo-Italians and or the Swedish Punisher. So, all right, well, let's see if Bedrock is right up your alley in your rating system. Roger, what do you think about the thespian abilities of our cast?
Wow. Man, this was rough on the acting guild. Let me tell you, I'm a huge Louis Gossett Jr. fan. That was Detective Jake Berkowitz.
Ooh, yeah.
His role in Officer and a Gentleman is one of my favorite roles ever. Okay. He wasn't given a lot to do here. Obviously, he's a good actor. We all know. Well, I know that. He's a good actor. He wasn't given a whole lot here because the story. Again, it's hard to sort of separate these two to me because the story had no foundation. So his lines were almost in a vacuum, right? That some of them just didn't coalesce with the portrayals of the characters. And he was one that he was just sort of thrown out there. He was given his role was to sort of connect that Frank had a past, and he had somebody that he cared about, so that when he was kidnapped, he would care about him, But within that, the rest of the characters were just so stereotypical and wooden, and it's they could have been mannequins, and you could have voiced over most of them, and it would have been fine. The Italians were all had these malfeasting outfits, and they all ate a lot of food, and they were tricked into getting meeting with the Yakuza because it was a restaurant. All the cliches you can think about is here. All the Yakuza are experts in martial arts, and they're ninjas. Although I do agree with Kenny that the head lady Yakuza was pretty good. That was not too bad. I disagree. I think the daughter, whoever she was a throw-in for the American audience. There's no way Yakuza they're very nationalistic, would use an American and into their organization in that level. I thought she was all just glitzy, just, hey, pretty face, put it out there, Yeah, the thespian guy, that was ridiculous. I mean, with the little robot, he was obviously a drunk, and he was trusted with a bomb, on and on and on and on. Dolph, my God, Dolph, let me tell you, man. Whoever wrote this script didn't know that Dolph was going to go in here, because the humor in it, you probably didn't even notice there was humor in it, because he has no delivery. Like when he was on when he was captured and he was put on that stretching machine.
Yeah.
And he leaves, and he is, I know there's going to be a stretch.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
then he's talking with Jake after he's captured by the police, and he says, "You got 125 murders. What do you got to say to that? What is that?" "Oh, a work in progress." There's no delivery there. He's like, it's like it's almost, he could have been Drago, for all intents and purposes, because there was no emotion. Frank is an intense individual. He's not unemotional. He is focused rage. Okay, he is absolutely a planner and a strategist to the end. And this guy had no facial expressions at all. I understand his family was killed, but that is his motivation. He's past the mourning stage at some point. This is 5 years later. Okay. All the mobsters, again, cliched. The Japanese guys were, they were, understated as, again, more cliched, more stereotyped. Man, except for Louis Gossett Jr. and the Yakuza lady, who were somewhat believable, everybody else was just horrid. I mean, honestly, High School Musicals have more talent than this cast. So, yeah, I'm with Kenny. I give it a 1.5, and that is a gift.
1.5 is a gift. 1.5. Sure.
All right, let me get this recorded.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the detective guy. He was a positive in the acting column. He was, for what he had, he wasn't a drag.
Well, something else that wasn't, remember I got mentioned in the last category too, is like, why would Frank go along with the mobster? He just killed him right away. Because remember, Louis Gossett was being held hostage too at the same time. So he couldn't afford to kill the mobster until he got the hostage out. So
yeah, I guess
there was that portion too, but I forgot about it until after we got done. But
the whole thing was just so cliche.
Yeah. How he knew Punisher, his connection to the Punisher is a very annoying thing, which I'll get into in the source category.
All right. So speaking of sources, this won't be it, but I will talk about the acting chops or lack thereof of some of the cast. Fun fact, as no one else mentioned it, I was going to see if anyone else would. Kenny mentioned about serial killer eyes. Did you notice the joke there about Berkowitz's name on the detective? I thought that was kind of a funny thing. Speaking of serial killers, but anyway. So on we go. The acting, oh boy. Yeah, the bad guys shouldn't always be their best actors. And the Yakuza leader, she definitely stole the show. I bet she has like a lot of pantomime and other training, because she was very good at very reserved, small, sure movements, not a lot of facial tics and expressions, not hamming it up too bad. Every now and then, Like at the end, she does her little laugh. That's about as maniacal as she gets. But even when she's sitting there killing the guys with the poison glasses, she's just real matter of fact and slow. And it really works. It works really well with her. And so she's probably the highlight. Louis Gossett Jr. is really hit or miss. He spent most of his time in B movies, and that's where a lot of his acting was. But I'll say this, he tried in this movie. He wasn't given too much to work with, but like, it seems kind of funny, but the scene in the cell after the Punisher's been arrested, I thought that was pretty good. I liked that he really did seem to care about Frank in that scene. It was over the top and hammy, but he tried his damnedest. So I'll give him some credit for that. I didn't care about his character. I didn't care about either detective. I didn't care about the police. I don't want to see those people. I want to see the Punisher. So those guys, they got way too much screen time. They were trying to add some extra drama and another plot thread of sorts, but that part didn't work. The homeless thespian, it is funny because in the books, like if Frank could be said to have friends, they're always the dregs of society that he can milk for information. They're not friends though. So I guess maybe like one or two capers, he would be getting information from this guy, but he's not getting heroin shipments in the millions of dollars from this guy. This guy's, like you said, he's a drunk. He's begging for drinks in bars. He's not out there hitting the streets. And people that generally don't tell old drunk thespians their big crime plans. So yeah, that was kind of just strange. He seemed really out of place. Someone else mentioned Jerome. I always don't know if it's Crab or Crabbe or however you pronounce his name, but whatever case it was, he was a little miscast. I liked his reservedness. It seems like something like a real big leader of men and bad guys would have, is you can't just be a complete firebrand all the time. That'll get you rubbed out in no time. But he seemed a little too nice. You know what I mean? He just seemed a little too nice to be the big mob guy. He wasn't quite lethal enough. He didn't even seem to get that pissed off when his kids were taken, He kept a little too cool. So, that part was a little bit hokey, but he did decent. Just, they should have got more of a sneering bad guy for a comic book kind of, villain. They already had the Ice Queen in the Yakuza. They might have had a better, what's the word I'm looking for? Dichotomy, I guess, with the raging Italian bad guy, right? If you're going to go with stereotypical tropes, go all the way. But so, yeah, some of the rest of the cast is mostly decent. Of those main characters there, and there's like 50,000 stunt people in martial arts that get killed in this movie. So they played dead real good. But Dolph. Yeah, Dolph. Dolph needs to stand there and look imposing. He does not need to open his mouth, especially when there's a huge language problem. That was one of the big problems with Masters Universe, because his English was really limited then, so they kept him not talking much. Very smart. And when he did talk, it didn't sound all that cool, right? Well, they had Frank quipping jokes. He started off perfect. He wasn't saying anything. He was just a silent killing machine. And then he makes these little snide remarks all in. Punisher doesn't do that. He doesn't waste his time and breath with jokes and all that. And it really brought it down. I liked the way he carried himself. I liked the way he handled the weapons. I thought that was all pretty good, and I guess fairly source accurate if you can get down to it. But man, yeah, he can't play drama, and he sure can't speak and deliver jokes. Timing is way off. Once again, it's probably some language problems, but the limitations of your actor. Don't make him do something and it's going to make him look silly, and making him try to be humorous when he's killing people or getting tortured just doesn't work. It falls flat as hell, and just have him be quiet in the shadows killing people. That's how you work with Dolph Lundgren back then. So yeah, Dolph is really bad. He looked the part. In the action scenes, he acted the part, but all the other parts of it just didn't work for him. I'm going to go ahead and give the acting a 2 on this, just because a couple of fairly standout performances, mostly in the Yakuza, Ice Queen herself. And I guess I didn't mind her mute stepdaughter too badly. Yeah, Roger's right. She wouldn't have been accepted into the fold, but what are you going to do? It's a damn movie about the Punisher. So, all right, I'm going to go give that a 2. All right. So we got a man over there. Looks like he's chomping at the bit over there. Can we see the first 5 or 0 of the evening? Dave, tell us what you really feel.
Oh, I like the acting. Like Louis Gossett Jr., he was a big actor in the 80s. He's still got sort of a name, I guess, but definitely, Officer and Gentleman was what got him his name. He did okay, but I mean, you could tell he was like, man, like as an experienced actor, he's like, this is every cliche. I'm the cliche, the cop with a chip on his shoulder, out to get the Force because go his own route, right? Like it's like, yes. Of course he wasn't into it. He was like, this is dumb, but I need a paycheck, right? Like, let's talk about like all the supporting people, like that girl. She was so annoying. All the Italian guys, if that Punisher comes around me,
Like Mario.
within 1,000 yards of me, I'm gonna show him what it means to be punished. That's right. Like, fuck, really? These guys really have to talk like they just were on the corner in Brooklyn or whatever? Like, come on, man. They can talk normal. Nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna be like, oh, that Punisher movie. Those Italian guys didn't have friggin' New York accents. Forget it, right? Like, no. Like, and then Dolph, man, why did the director let him play emo Punisher, right? Like, why does it like? I kept thinking like, oh, at any moment Morrissey's gonna friggin' fire up here while he's in his basement sewer lair, right, with all his candles sitting there naked. Kill my family. I'm gonna get revenge on them all. Like totally, like let me just put on my eyeliner first, and then I will be out to get those guys. Emo Punisher, terrible. The jokes, that was just like, oh my god, like because like you're supposed to have that cool dry wit of an '80s action star, right? And stick around, Sully. No, it's not. He didn't have any delivery. It was like even the actors around him just could see that the joke fell flat, right? Like they didn't even react to his jokes. He'd be like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. And they were like, yeah, you're not funny, right? Like, ugh. The acting, the white girl ninja girl, right? Like, no, and I hated that that like the Punisher's big bad guy and like the final kind of boss area. Really, the big bad guy fight, the last big bad guy fight he had was a girl. I was like, really? You're gonna have the Punisher fight a girl and then use the trope of breaking her neck, which is impossible to do as a human being. You know this, right? Every time someone does that in the movies, it's total bullshit. It would take a lot more strength than either any of us have to break someone's neck from a standing position. So I always hate stuff like that right away. Like it's always a cop-out death. Like, I'll just turn your head and you'll fall dead, right? Like kill her, stab her, show me some blood. You've killed like 1 million people all the way along here with guns and throwing knives and all this stuff. Like, just give me the cliche. It just it's kind of stunning to like look at. I just like the less lines he had, the better. Because like half the times he was slurring them with his poor accent. Why must the guilty go free while the innocent are punished? Oh, dun-dun, 9 Inch Nails fires up. Dun-dun, the emo Punisher. Dun-dun, right? Like, totally acted like it's out to lunch on that acting of how like a tough guy character should really act. He would have been better if he had just tried to act like Drago. Just shut up. Just stand there menacingly all the time, right? Like, just show up and be like, all these gangsters are looking at him. They're like, it's the Punisher. He doesn't say a word. He just starts killing them. Good. Don't give Dolph any lines. Dolph, you are not an actor. You are a set piece. And I tell you to move this way, go that way. That's it. Would have been better. Couldn't have been worse. I can tell you that much. So overall, I gave the acting a 0.5, and the 0.5 is only for Louis Gossett Jr., who I could tell really phoned it in, right? Like he was not happy to be there. He's like, man, I got bills to pay. They're going to repo my Corvette. I got to do this movie. So 0.5 for Liu.
All right, 0.5 it is. I'm reminded of anyone ever seen the movie Dolan's Cadillac? But it's Stephen King short story, and they did like I think it was straight to video kind of thing. But they got Christian Slater to do the role, and man, he gave it his all. But he's probably making like $300,000 for the movie, but he was just trying so hard to rise above the writing and all that. So that's what Gossett's performance kind of remind me of there.
Totally, yeah. Like he just, and sometimes he must have just been looking around, going, "Why? Where am I? What am I doing here? Why am I in Australia?"
Yeah,
I can see him looking over at the directors like saying, "You get one take." So just remember that. Okay.
yeah, he didn't have much material to work with. Let's put it that way. I mean, it was razor thin scripts.
Just that part was so tacked on. It's like leave Frank Marine. Don't make him a cop. That just added a completely unnecessary side story onto the thing. And
exactly.
I don't. You guys being so harsh on this. Compare this to Masters of the Universe, right? At least the plot of Punisher kept driving forward. And like, okay, mobsters now. Okay, Yakuza now. Okay, boat ninjas now. And like, at least it kept it.
Oh, I love the pacing. I said that before.
Pacing. Yeah.
And even the acting happening. Think of Masters of the Universe when you consider how much time we spent with Courtney Cox and keyboard playing doofus. And you signed up for a He-Man and Skeletor movie, and we're following on those dorks for way too much of the movie. Like it gave us that, like chunks of uselessness. Like kudos to this movie for that. It might not be quality acting, but it's entertaining. I hope we can at least end on that as entertaining.
Well, we'll see if the chat agreed it was entertaining. So while we continue to argue amongst ourselves, we're going to go turn it over to the fifth grader this evening before we get to our intermission. So what say you, chat? Throw us your grades right now. Let us know. Was this a thespian delight worthy of a Midsummer's Night Dream, or are we talking more of a C-movie straight to DVD? You know what? Forget that. Straight to the USA Network Trek. Tell us now and let your voices be heard.
What did you guys think about the scenes that they did where Frank was naked with the candles, and he was there supposedly like praying, right? And like you said, Dave, was like, "Where is justice? Why do the guilty go free and the innocent?"
They should have had the bum narrate it then. That's what they should have had it done, like a voiceover. My friend Frank, he's lost, and they could have done something better with it than internal monologues.
I mean, was that supposed to be like that was his motivation, his role, that he thought that this was a heavenly cause?
Right.
And but why does he have to be naked and do it with these candles and like it was bizarre to me. I mean, when I pray, I don't pray with candles in the buff.
No, I thought he was trying to pour wax on himself or something
in the sewer.
Like the whole thing reminded me of a 15-year-old emo scene. Like he could have pulled out a razor and started like getting little cuts or something on their next. You know what I mean? Well, I said, Morrissey plays in the background. Totally missed the point of the
bizarre stuff throughout.
Yeah, that's why I almost got like a serial killer vibe from him, because like it was almost like a religious zealot. Is he like think he's I don't know. It was like a weird.
But he didn't really act like that through most of the movies. It was just in those kind of cut scenes.
Yeah.
And then it's like then he was back to being stoic and just, hey, if they're guilty, they will be dead. The heck with the kids. Well, what about like kidnapping, child endangerment? What do you think that is? The drunk is the one who convinced him. Come on.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, he had so much sway over the Punisher's actions. That drunk.
I like this one, Scott. That's a good one. But
it's pretty Skeletor.
All right, so I think last chance to get your grades in there, and let me pull the abacus up.
I got a feeling this is not going to go well.
I can probably skip the abacus and probably go right for the low single digits, but all right, let's go ahead and go with it. So at your leisure, sir.
All right, here we go. 3.5 from Tim. Wow.
Yeah.
1.5. 2. 1. 1. 1. Hey, Russ, how you doing? That's it. That 3.5 skewed things a bit, I think.
You got a 1.5. Bedrock's 2 for 2 tonight.
I'm on fire.
Yeah, definitely not this movie's strong suit. Kind of expected going in, but once again, as much as they want to turn Frank into an action hero, this is a man that's full of despair and anger and smoldering rage. He's not a quip machine. He's not a quip machine in the comics. Sometimes he'll say something wry, but he doesn't do that. So I don't know what they were thinking on this. I think they were just going with the 80s action trope. You got to have a one-liner every now and then. You have to have some stupid, silly action scene that's over the top. And that's what our audiences want, right? So, yeah. But he's no Arnold in his delivery. That's for sure.
Not even close.
Well, we have reached the point of intermission, and tonight we're going to make a pretty big announcement. So, Roger, if you would like to do the honors.
Absolutely. As you all know, we had our first Graders Notes contest, right? And we had 6 really, really stupendous entries. We had 7. We had 1 come after by GP Venom. But we had 6 that we were able to consider for the prize, right? And let me remind you, the prize is next week. You get to be with this panel, quirky quartet that we are, and we get to grade a comic of your choosing, right? So let me tell you how the process went. All of us saw all of the videos, okay, and we each had a blind list of rankings, which was torture to do because you guys were all so good. We had to really make just hair-splitting kind of decisions, right? So everybody was in the running till right at the end, okay? Let me just tell you who the 6 contestants were. I just saw that a new channel to me, but somebody that actually know from the CGC forums, Classic Comic Collector, welcome. I just see you there in the chat. He put a really great entry from Adventure Comics, which was tough because it was 3 different stories. Tim, the Comic Collector, did another great job, great intro, great support video of a Marvel comic. Bill, Comic Mag Musings, did an excellent job with a Hellboy. Biggie came in with a really passionate one with a Carnage comic. And then we had J. Hood Creative with the X-Men and versus the Teen Titans. I think that was the title. Did I miss anybody, guys? I think that was it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think I was, yeah.
And Scott
Keep it in 2, yeah.
Scott 424 came in with not only 1 but 2 entries. So he's trying to hedge his bets, right? But again, really good job. I can tell that you guys see the show, that you guys know what the format is, that you guys pay attention. Guys, it was so tough to choose between you 6. You have no idea. The 5 of us, Unruly was in as well, really sweated this one out because you guys were all so good. We are so honored for the support that you gave this channel and this show. We really are honored beyond belief. But there, like I said before, there can be only one, all right? And when everything was shaken together by the slimmest, and I mean razor-thin margin, congratulations, J. Hood Creative. You will be joining us next fortnight here, where we will be reviewing your book, which is a Wildcats book, I do believe. And you will be able to pick a prize package amongst the 4 of us, which is a bunch of comics. I don't know if you're still here, J. Hood, but I know you'll watch us on the rewind, and we'll send you the information so you can join us in 2 weeks. But everybody else who joined, pay attention. We were so impressed by what you did, right, that I think in the future we're going to have guest spots here for 5th graders, okay? So all guys who put in entries, as far as I'm concerned, at some point are going to be on this show. It might take 6 months or a year or something, but we will have you on here because we're so impressed with what you did that we want you on here and we want you to show your chops when it comes to the Graders Notes. The only thing is that we picked the book, all right? So maybe in a month or 2, I'll get together with the guys. We'll see when the time is appropriate, and we'll have one of you guys. We'll probably do a randomizer, and we'll have you all on very soon. But thank you, everybody, for joining. I mean, for the entries. Guys, that was so tough to choose between those 6 entries. We all had kind of different ideas, about where we were going with it. And that is Graders Notes in essence. We all have kind of different views about things, but everybody did. I think we can agree with this. Everybody was top notch and did a great job on their videos.
And we do appreciate it. Was so fun to watch, like our own take on things, but being done by somebody else, you know.
Yeah, and I just wanted to give like the real quick, shout out to the guys who entered. So good. Mag Musings, I thoroughly enjoyed your entry, man. Super articulate. It was nice and long-winded, just like we are. 30 minutes. I was glued the whole time. You really broke that comic down. I loved it. My man Scott, just like with great energy, take one and take two. I loved it, man. Classic Comic Collector, that was the first bid that I seen of yours. I liked the comic that you picked. That was a great entry. My man Tim had like really kind words to say on the front end of, that he appreciates the show. And he is one of our day one Graders Notes homies, man. Tim, the comic, that's how I met Tim, just through here.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to you, Tim. Biggie Shaq, dude. Just doing the Graders Notes review the way only Biggie can do. Killed it. And Jay Hood, of course. We love Jay Hood. Nailed it. So just shout out to you guys. Thank you. I had a great time watching all the entries. Appreciate it.
And I made a playlist on my channel. If you guys haven't seen it, go over there, watch their entry, give them a little comment and say, hey, thanks for supporting Graders Notes. You guys did a great job because they deserve it.
All right. So, we're going to have our guest will probably pop on toward the end of the stream there, our winner. So we can congratulate him there. So I think without further ado, we can go ahead and get on to the next two sections. Let me get this pulled off over here. I'll be a little more mindful of the time. So on these next two categories, we'll get things moving along. So next category is production, the overall look and feel of the movie, and basically everything has to do with budget and design and all that good stuff. So let's see. In this one, I believe it is it Kenny's turn to go first? Did you go first last time?
I went first on acting, I think, didn't I? So whoever goes after me, which I think is Roger.
Yeah, Raj. So you're up. You can lead it off. I'll take the next one.
Okay.
So what do you think about the production of this movie?
Well, this is a tough one to grade for me because it did have some pretty good scenes as far as how they were demonstrated on screen. It had some pretty good ones. Now, the overall ambiance was pretty dark. There was very little, except for the when the family blew up and things like that. There were very few scenes outside in the sunshine. There was the courthouse right at the beginning. So that part was just, I think that was sort of the mood they were setting as far as the production goes. The special effects were, I think, somewhat over the top, which is what you would expect for an action movie. Like, for example, when the first scene where, the gangster went back to his mansion and the Punisher had killed them all already. Well, of course, he had to blow up the whole house, because there was a film crew out front, and that was over the top. It was just, it was too much, but was it effective? Yeah, it was well done, but it was not appropriate, I think, for the scene, which maybe is more of the script part that I'm mixing up here. There's not much to talk about. I think they did have the Japanese culture parts with the rice paper doors. Those seemed pretty well done. They had some ambiance lighting during the fight where they had this red, almost like an infrared, where when they killed the lights with the bomb, and you had the emergency lights come on. That was not bad. It made sense. But let's call it what it is. The body count here is huge. Okay, that's why I call it like a Death Wish thing, because like the later ones where essentially he would just mow down gang members, and essentially this was like a total karma movie. If you were bad, you were dead. If you were good, you survived, right? That's just kind of the way it went. And that's why the kid at the end, it was sort of like, well, how's it going to go, right? The fight scenes, I think, were okay, average. Again, they seemed kind of choreographed, kind of slow in parts. The one in the carnival supply place or whatever that was That was probably the best one, other than maybe that little slight part down the hall where he was fighting the Anglo Yakuza or whoever she was. So again, the ambiance was dark, but I think that was on purpose. I think it was somewhat appropriate. The special effects were nothing special. They were average, but not terrible. In other words, you didn't see like somebody's hand, inappropriate, or boom mics or anything like that. You had a few nice little gems, like the knife had the skull on it, the Punisher skull. He didn't have a van, but he had that nice hog, which makes sense if you're going in the sewers because a van wouldn't fit down there. His costume was, kind of just a leathery kind of costume. Didn't really identify as the Punisher. His beard was kind of cut, so kind of looked like a skull, I think, with the white here and the dark. But maybe I'm making that up. It just kind of looked like that to me. It's not slick. It's not great, but it's not awful either. I mean, it had, I think, a smaller budget. You can see that the edits were kind of choppy here and there. But again, I've seen much worse. It's not like Commando where he comes up with a different underwear and all that. It had some kind of, somebody actually did edit this at some point and direct it somewhat. Again, I have the problems that I have are more with the script and the acting and the source accuracy. The production, in comparison, was not that terrible. So I'll go serviceable here. This is not my area of expertise, first of all, but it looked okay. The death count was, high, which is what you expect. The explosions were there. There was not a lot of blood, but I don't know if that was because of, it was Punisher, comic book guy. I don't know. That might have been a directed kind of thing. So I went 2.5. Yeah, could have gone 2, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I thought the action was pretty well done. Like Kenny's saying, the pacing was okay. I kind of give that to the production because, again, the fight scenes where you don't get bored in this film. There's always something going on. Even if the acting is just terrible, at least the action is there.
All right, our first serviceable of the evening. I'm quite excited now. 2.5 from Roger. All right, there it is. So
you see the rest.
Dave's down there shaking his head, chomping at the bit to get into it. Well, you'll get your turn next, sir. Okay, production. Let's talk about the elephant room. I already spoke about this one earlier. Casino scene was a complete waste of time. It was just added into the body count. He could have gave his message in many different ways, but we endlessly saw him shoot a saw, basically, and blow up machinery. It was old. And just overly bombastic and kind of ridiculous. That's not how Punisher operates. He would have blown the joint up with some C4 and moved on, after. But anyway, now the overall production I thought wasn't too bad actually in this movie. A lot of cool things going on. Big set pieces. My favorite scene in the entire movie is the carnival, like the abandoned amusement park. I thought that was great. There was stuff coming from all sides. It's a huge set, lots of stuff going on, tons of people in it. You got a freaking bus chase scene where he's wrecking half of downtown. It's kind of like reminiscent of a cheap Terminator movie, right? That was pretty cool. When you move into, it's like a completely different world when you move into the Yakuza's freaking upscale penthouse area. They have the whole top of the building or whatever at this plaza. Looked pretty good. Like I said, rice paper everywhere, cool statues everywhere, kabuki stuff, going on. Cool. I mean, costumes looked okay. A lot of people will give it hell because Frank doesn't have the skull, but the problem with a lot of superhero movies is, it looks ridiculous when you get into real life, into the big screen. It just looks stupid, So I think they probably made a wise choice in here because a lot of people probably wouldn't know who the Punisher was. Like, who's this guy? Why does he have this gigantic skull painted on his chest?
How dare you say that?
I know. But even though this was actually brought up in a Punisher comic, for those of you who read a lot of it, is he actually put it there on purpose, and that was to draw people's fire. People tend to aim at the big white spot. It was like a big target on his chest, so that's why he put it there. So it actually had a function. So they just gave him more of a street look here. I can look past that. I wanted to see the skull too, of course, but I mean, it just makes sense. They gave him the skull and the knife. I guess that was his calling card, as they called it. There's a really cool scene. I know when he's up in there, kind of off track there, when he's doing the final fight in the Yakuza place, and they're mowing down guys, and he's walking through the hallways, the thin hallways full of rice paper, and he senses a guy at the other end, so he kind of reaches down, does this like butterfly move with a knife, and just jabs it into him. It's perfect. Like he did it like totally offhand walking by. But yeah, I mean, some of the sets look pretty nice. For the low budget affair that it was, the explosion scene was amazing. I forgot it was in there, and I did like how it set him up as a character at the very beginning, like him just offing like 3 guys within like 30 seconds. I think that was pretty great,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it looked all right. Most of the costumes looked all right. I gave it a 3. It was, nothing too incredible, but I mean, for a low budget affair, I thought stuff looked pretty good, and there was some ambitious stuff going on there. Like I said, a lot of stunt choreography, and I don't know, just a lot of shooting ups, and like you said, like 90 bodies. So it did what it had to do. Who knows how many blanks and squibs they shot off in this movie? Probably about 10,000 or so. So yeah, I give it a 3. A little better than serviceable, but that's a stupendous.
How dare you, indeed.
So, speaking of stupendous here, we have a man here who's been known to always bite his lip and bite his tongue. So, Dave, what do you think about the production of this movie?
Oh, man. Like, whatever money they didn't squeeze out of the script, they squeezed out of the production, that's for sure. This movie is low budget. Like, it had a $9.5 million budget. And if you look at movies around the same time with the same budget, and one of the movies that comes to mind is Tremors, and look at the production value of Tremors compared to the production value of The Punisher for the same money, that's poor director. That's poor set people that did that production value on the thing. It looked like someone filmed it on, the high school's Betamax camera from the AV room. Like the production, like the camera work was terrible. Stop moving the camera. Stop moving the camera. Stop moving the camera. Like, I hate it when like every scene that, you got 2 guys just sitting there talking and the camera is panning slowly around, and then it's panning slowly back, and then it's coming in, and then it's going. It's like, stop moving the camera. You're just talking. You don't need to move the camera. You don't need to zoom in. We know you're a cameraman. We know you want to do your job. Stop it. Bunch of scenes that were like started out half in focus, half out of focus. Lots and lots of like, what is that? What is weird? Like some of their ideas, like, why do you have all these guys dressed like in frog suits, but they don't even take their goggles off, like jumping around? The vans, like, it honestly, to me, it looked like it could have been like a college student's movie, could have been a fan film. I've seen fan films on YouTube now that are better. I know we have better equipment than even those guys did, but technology available at the time, production capabilities available at the time, the price that they paid for this movie, I don't know what the hell those guys were doing. Being like, what's it? Somehow we friggin' hired all new people, and we're.
Oh, the salt is affecting his connection. That's how much rage he's feeling right now.
Blue Line Cinema is getting revenge here.
Hey, did the move step on your Ethernet line? What's going on?
Am I here?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You kept freezing up.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this connection. I think I actually got a break in my Ethernet. Sorry, where was I when I froze up?
Somewhere like around Betamax and college level
film
time.
Yeah,
so like the production level, like compared to other movies at the time, compared to what could be produced at the time for that kind of money, somebody was stealing. It had to be. Like, it was just like, where'd all the money go for this production of this movie? I could have done this in like the parking lot of it's just, production value on this movie was definitely B-, like B- movie. A good example of what like New World Pictures kind of movies are, they did like Death Race 2000 and Chud, right? Like, Chud had better production value than this piece of crap did. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Like, and the stupidest thing to ever do, you have one of the greatest logos spoon-fed to you, and apparently Marvel Comics and Stan Lee were like, guys, use the logo, and the producer and the director were like, no, if we have to use it, we won't make the film at all, right? Like, they were like, what the fuck, man? This is this is every piece of merchandise that you want afterwards has this, right? All the money went to the heroin. Yeah, they must have freaking something happened. Oh, stupid choices. I don't like man, like production value in this movie was low, right? Like low. Like some of the sets, yeah. Oh, let's have this stuff. And then I was like, wait a minute, wasn't this filmed in Australia? Did they find a Japanese restaurant to go and do this with, or did they actually build that Japanese set? Because maybe that's where they're wasting their money. Like, why are you doing stuff like that? Right? Like, you could have stayed in Los Angeles. There's lots of Asian restaurants in Los Angeles with paper doors that you could have done. Ridiculous. The whole thing, production value, just I can see the production value fit well with the acting, fit well with the script, right? And in the end, I gave it my highest mark with a 2.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Because there was some cool scenes like the zip line with the Punisher, and then like lots of squibbing and lots of violence. Like the violence keeps my score so high. That's why.
Well, we're just glad that you unfroze enough to spare some vitriol there for this poor production. So you got to imagine, though, shooting in a city is not cheap. I mean, it's cheap to shoot in a desert place like Tremors did. It's a lot cheaper to shoot out there than it is like to basically cordon off whole city blocks and stuff. That gets really pricey,
So then you write your script to do that.
Plus, you got to buy the property too. That's not cheap. So, yeah.
And then you could have 20 interior shots for the Punisher and be for $9 million, man, get it. Like you could just have a warehouse or right up on the set. You could view it right on the studio lot. Could have done most of that movie.
They didn't have that many exterior shots really, except for the bus thing. That was a long time. Yeah.
A couple alley scenes,
a couple alley scenes, a couple in front of the courthouse.
All right, so waiting patiently in the wings over there are esteemed fourth grader for this category, Mr. Kenneth. What did you think about the overall production values of this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no production expert like Roger's saying. When I think production, I'm thinking of like, how do the sets look? How do the costumes look? And effects, explosions, things of that nature, makeup. And I don't know. I don't think much was not too much production was required. Like when we compare this to Masters of the Universe that we watched, production is much more relevant in the conversation. But street level, mercenary type movie. So as far as like effects go, probably the biggest they go is like blowing up houses, blowing things up. As far as explosions go, explosions were fine. I do think that the Japanese dojo spot looked pretty cool, and I think they looked pretty cool in their little samurai outfits. They looked all right. The Punisher's costume, which I'm just gonna leave that for source. But as far as what he's wearing, the black metals, regardless of what was on his shirt or not, just what he had on. Black biker gear was kind of like looked like what he had on. They probably could have went a little more militaristic, but since this Punisher had nothing to do with the military, I guess they wouldn't have thought of that. So we'll nip that on source too. So he had like this weird biker guy look that I never think of the Punisher really having. So that costume was kind of a fail. The only skull you get is on that little knife, like someone said. And I'm remiss of one of the great acting performances and great lines of this movie is right in the beginning when Punisher, like Rambo First Blood Part 2 style, when he like stealthily kills guys and then just one by one picks them off in a stealthy way, and then just blows up the mansion at the end. The mob boss falls down at the front door with the knife in his back with a little teeny tiny skull on the end of it. And some like reporter or bystander guy from like 30 yards away apparently sees the little knife and says, quote, "Holy shit, it's the Punisher." And I love that guy. Yeah, I don't know. It was fine. There was nothing really great about it. There was nothing like stuck out to me like, geez, that looks really cheap. Oh, the one thing that looked really cheap was there was a scene that they wanted to give you a first person view of Frank riding his motorcycle to, I think, the carnival spot, and they tried to get cute and do like first person, think of it like a video game, and all you're seeing is the handlebars of the motorcycle, and like you're cruising that way. And oh my god, it looks so cheap. Those handlebars look cheesy as hell. I can only imagine the goon on the little, maybe on a skateboard or something, wheeling himself on with some cheap handlebars he made or something dumb. So, anyway, nothing crazy, nothing really poor. I gave it 2.5 down the middle for production.
Cool.
All right, 2.5 it is. So our grades are in, but guess what time it is? It's time for the chat to let their voices be heard. So go ahead and start plugging in your scores right now. We'll tally them up in just a moment. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and bring on a fifth temporary grader here, our winner of this evening's contest, Jay Hood. Jay, how you doing this evening?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey, Jay Hood. Congratulations.
Thank you. I won, I guess, huh?
You did.
Let me tell you, it was stiff competition.
Yep.
Yeah.
Razor thin margins there.
I bet.
Yep.
I bet. Hey,
Great entry.
thanks, guys. It was a fun contest. I usually only do contests when I think I have a good entry, so figured I'd hop in on this one, and it looks like I struck gold.
We were all like, "Oh no, he should have picked that issue for the show." We all wanted to read that. X-Men versus, the Teen Titans. That's a classic.
Yeah, I'd just been reading it, so I figured perfect example to use for the contest.
All right. Have you seen this movie before, Jay?
I watched it once in college. We watched it as a bootleg. We went to a comic convention, bought the bootleg there, and I'm not sure that the movie had been released yet.
We used to get bootleg stuff when I was deployed in Iraq, but those movies were true bootleg because you hear people coughing. It's basically some dude there with a video camera, and then people get up and walk.
This one, I think it had like the timestamp in the corner with the timer running.
Yeah, low battery.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. So you think you're ready to join this astute panel here? You ready to throw your grader's notes hat on?
Let me tell you, you guys are not afraid to hammer on good material, and
No one's safe.
I appreciate the honesty. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing what the feelings are in the book I chose.
Do you have the comic with you, Jay Hood? So you can
You mean
show
this one?
chat?
Yeah.
Wildcats, what?
Number 21.
Number 21.
Wildcat.
Is there significance to this?
This was the first issue of Wildcats written by Alan Moore, and had interior art by Travis Charest.
Ooh.
It's the start of the Alan Moore run.
Interesting.
So Alan Moore hopped off of his work at what was Rob Liefeld's company. He hopped over from Rob Liefeld's studio to work on Wildstorm stuff before it was sold to DC. So this was still under Jim Lee's control. Jim Lee did the cover, but it's got it's a fun one issue. This is one of those books I think you can give to anybody because the characters are all relatively new. It's good for a new reader. You don't have to know a whole lot about it going in.
What issue number is it?
Number 21.
Wildcats 21. I'm gonna get my copy. I want the hard copy of this.
Yeah, we'll put this. We'll put this out. I'll put this out so everybody knows for in 2 weeks that this will be the book to come grade in 2 weeks from today.
Hold up the cover again, please, Jay. Okay.
And Jayhood, you also get a prize package.
Wow.
But I don't know if we're ready to show that today. So maybe in 2 weeks.
Okay.
You can choose the package that you wish out of the four of us.
That sounds like great fun. Like I'm looking forward to it.
It's kind of everybody has kind of their different way of doing it, but like a lot of it will be previous graders' notes stuff. We want you to get the real full experience.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So make sure you have a lot of the stuff we've talked about in the past.
Well, you went over Green Lantern 76 once, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
That's the Speedy Heroin one, yeah.
Jay Hood.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we kind of have a rule that we want to try to keep it so that, we don't have to take out loans.
Yeah. My price pack actually includes that book.
Oh
yeah. 9.8 copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenny's trying to sell his little set already.
Yeah, beautiful facsimile.
Hey, my side will have the Aliens versus Predator. Ooh.
Oh.
You can take them all, please. Come on.
There you go, J Hood. This is the one you want. Of course.
No, you want this one. Take it.
Man, I see 4 books.
There's
I would take any loan.
There's a lot more. Look
There's
at
a lot more. We reviewed a lot of books over the last 1 year and some change.
We read a lot. So.
Very cool. I look forward to it. Look forward to reading the book again. I haven't read it in a long time. I hope it stands up, and look forward to chatting about it with you guys, and definitely look forward to picking through the prize packages to see which one's going to be the cherriest.
All right, sweet action.
This is a source of pride for us, J Hood. So,
Right.
if you pick us, if you pick us, it's an honor for us. Don't worry about the other aspects there.
Okay.
So prepare for our next guest, Jay Hood. He'll be our guest grader in 2 weeks' time. Wildcats number 21 will be the book, so make sure to read ahead for that one. I was going to wait till we did the last category, but I didn't want to keep him waiting around because I know you got things to do tonight. But appreciate you swinging by, unless you want to hang out for the next section. But I don't. You said you hadn't seen the movie in a while, but
no, you can put me backstage. I look forward to seeing how the show wraps up. I might do an unboxing like after you guys are done. I might just hop on and do a real quick AOK unboxing from Biggie Shack.
Yeah.
Oh, Biggie.
Cool.
Gotta give him some more. There we go. Biggie once again makes his presence felt in the community. So
Yeah, there you go.
all right. Well, backstage with you. We're gonna go ahead and get our grading and then move on to our final category. So thanks again for joining us, sir.
Yep. See you guys.
Congrats,
See ya.
man. See ya.
Congratulations again.
DJ.
All right. So Roger, if you would give me the tallies.
Oh yeah, let me look at the tally here.
Why is my
Life insurance. Yeah, that's true. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. 3, 2.5, 4, 2, 3, 2.5, and that's it. Hold on. I thought I saw another one up here. Hold on. No, I'm sorry. That's it.
All right. Let's see. It comes in at a 2.83. So got to round up.
Gino hit it on the head.
I got one today. I didn't think it looked that bad, honestly. I mean, for what it was.
Yeah, that amongst the different issues it has, this was not the biggest.
Not the most egregious. It was interesting that the design choice they took, like Kenny said, it was weird to make him look like a biker. It's not utilitarian.
Yeah.
Punisher is very utilitarian. He'll put on a trench coat every now and then, but like he wears like tight stuff that doesn't interfere with his movements. And a floppy jacket like that would definitely interfere with your movements. It may step a blade though, so maybe that was the idea. But yeah, so
it was the late 80s. Leather was in Mad Max.
True.
And all
He
that.
did ride a motorcycle, so there was that. So maybe he had leftover chaps. Maybe this is leftover stuff that he had from riding.
Yeah, that was a cool guy.
It was odd. Oh, Jay, there he is. D-Run coming in with a 0.5. You're too late, my friend. You're too late.
Oh, D-Run got a 0.5. Hey,
Probably
down to my level.
Yeah, y'all probably got it then. So, all right. So here's the part where I bet this thing takes a serious bath, and that's the source accuracy. So I'll go ahead and lead this one off. And we'll talk about how true this was to the character of Frank Castle and the Marvel comics that he inhabited. So, yeah, let me get my timer pulled up here. Yeah, clear. So, source accuracy, yes. Like I said earlier, I think this movie was something else entirely, and they just wrote the Punisher in it when they got the property. Just kind of another cookie cutter, 80s action flick, and it is what it is. But they did try to incorporate a few things, at least, into the Punisher, but it's or from the comics, but it's real few and far between. Basically, you have the name Frank Castle. That's one thing that kind of stays true. His family was killed. They actually did it in a way I think made more sense in this one than it did in the comics. In the comics, they were all gunned down in the Central Park. I mean, come on, mobsters are pretty lethal, but this is not like, St. Valentine's Day Massacre in Chicago. They at least have some decorum, so they would do it around someone's house or somebody else, but not in the middle of the park with all those witnesses. But so this made sense. It was a mistaken car bomb. Okay, that works for me. Frank's drive to get the people who killed his family and then basically any collateral damage as far as bad guys goes was not really hinted upon. It was just mostly vengeance against the mob. So he hadn't taken on drug dealers and pimps and all the other stuff that people he fights in his comic books in this. So that was another departure from the character. Of course, the look, he doesn't have the skull icon. He's not wearing Kevlar as far as we know. He doesn't have the ballistic knife that he used to carry all the time. Most of his weapon set doesn't look similar. He usually carried like an M4 or something like that in the books, and he spent more time with a sawed-off shotgun than most other guns in this. And, he did get the M4 toward the end, though, but or it might have been an A2. I can't remember. It's been like a week since I watched it. But so, like, we said earlier, the Punisher, he lives in warehouses and battle vans, and he doesn't live in the sewer generally. I mean, I could see him doing it if he needed to take shelter somewhere, but it looked like they had him. That was his home base. So that didn't make any sense. There's no microchip. That would be the easiest thing in the world to add. You could add one scene with a guy in front of an Apple computer or something and him feeding Frank some information. That's all you got to show, right? And then we know microchip is his partner and helper. So you don't need to have him in a bunch of scenes. But no, they gave him the old thespian drunk. Made no sense. His villain output doesn't really make a huge difference because, he's usually fighting low life, no names anyway. I mean, like he has the Kingpin and Jigsaw as a sometimes recurring character in the comics and a few other smaller ones, but he is probably one of the heroes that has the least amount of known rogues gallery to worry about keeping, continuity with. So I didn't mind like the selection of bad guys for him. It just gives him, some pretty blatant targets. But yeah, this movie is mostly divorced of the character, other than his penchant for killing just about anything that gets in his way when it comes to the bad guys. They really just didn't get enough. I mean, I think they had Stan Lee technically as an on-set advisor too, so I'm surprised that he didn't push for more of the intricacies of the book. So yeah, I'm gonna give it like a 1.5. They got some things sort of right, but most of it they got completely wrong. At this point, I was just happy to get a Punisher movie. So, so at that point, my fanboyism probably gave it an extra like point for it from back in the day. Because I remember when I first saw the preview for this was on what was the old channel where you watched the TV Guide channel, whatever it is, when it had the freaking selection of the shows that was coming on in the next 2 hours. But they would show like trailers in those. And I remember when I first saw this, man, I was like, oh my gosh, I had a Craigasm right there in my freaking living room, and I was so excited because I was the biggest Punisher mark in the world. And yeah, just kind of too far from the source material for my taste, other than the one-man army kind of aspect of him. And that really wasn't totally him in the books either. He chose his battles much more carefully than he did in this one. 1.5, they could have done so much better with it. But, we got a Punisher movie, so it was something, I guess. So 1.5.
Nice.
All right, Dave.
Let's
see. The man with a skull on his chest has some words for this movie. So what did you think about the source accuracy of this movie?
Oh, man. Like, why? I don't understand why they do that. Like, you have this character, it's been built up, it has fans already. There's a whole storyline just handed to you. Right? You just kind of write a script around some opening stuff. No. Let's just change it all. Let's take away his skull. Let's take away how his family's killed. It's just like, why do you think that you are a better writer than the Marvel Comics guy that's been working on it for years, right? Like, source accuracy is almost non-existent. Like, they change so much about Frank Punt. Like, why is he a cop? Why is he an emo guy living in the sewer? Why? Like, why is he hanging out with drunk bum actors that rhyme all the time? Like, if real Frank Castle, the first time that old drunk guy was rhyming at him, he'd be like, get out of here, right? Like, it wasn't Frank Castle, in my opinion. It wasn't the Punisher, in my opinion. You could have taken Dolph Lundgren renamed him anything you want. The Skull Killer, Jimmy Joe, Joe Jr., Shabadoo, whatever. And it would have just been the same movie. Just the guy had a different name, right? It had nothing to do with the Punisher. There was no drawbacks to the comic books, barely at all. Other than calling him the Punisher, that's the only way that you would have known that this was a Punisher movie in any way. Other than that, it's just another 80s shoot 'em up movie, one man army going for it. But honestly, could have been anybody. Could have been anybody. They drop the ball when they have this great source material with all these fans already built in. They have logos that could easily be transferred onto t-shirts and action figures and Punisher bands. If you had to use the band, you can make action figure bands that, open up with guns and all kinds of stuff. Could have had your microchip action figure. Could have had a scene with the drunk guy where he happened to see something, so the Punisher threatens him or whatever. But they just wanted to throw it all away. And yes, they did have Stan Lee and a few other Marvel guys on set, pushing for the Punisher stuff. And the directors and the producers were like, no, absolutely not. We're not doing anything like that. What do you think this is? I'm like, it's obviously not a Punisher movie, right? Like, you guys didn't want to make a Punisher movie. You wanted to make some other action movie. Why didn't you just tell the studio, let's just make this action movie? Forget about Stan Lee and all those other guys. Forget about getting comic book rights or whatever, right? We'll make, whatever action, B movie that we can make and put it out on video, and somebody's dad will rent it for them on a Friday night, and we'll make our money back, right? They didn't need the Punisher at all. So source accuracy, I gave it a 0.5 because they did use the name.
0.5, and that's probably the only reason they've actually put it on there. It's just for hoping to get a little more name recognition out there. So 0.5, the second one of the night. All right. So the low scores keep on coming in from up north. Kenneth, were you quite so hard on the source material aspect of this movie, or did you see some improvement there on your end?
Dude, it's not the Punisher. I think I'm being literal here his family got murdered. His family got killed by mob, and he kills people. That's it. I don't really think you can point to anything else that makes him the Punisher. Why you wouldn't put the skull on him is beyond me. It's baffling. I know there's I cut a lot of old movies slack when they try to transfer superhero stuff, comic stuff, because it's hard to make a superhero suit, But the Punisher, Miracle looks more like the Punisher than that dude did with his Punisher shirt. It's very easy to, get onto the screen. So that was really disappointing. The Punisher is not a cop. That is such a fundamental change to the Punisher. It doesn't jive with the character of the Punisher to make him a cop in his life before. Because when you think cop, you think upstanding member of the, whatever. Some people might debate this, but usually a member of the community and most cops go their whole career without killing a bunch of people. And that's what's key to the Punisher is, yes, he comes back from war and he's trying to live like a square life, and then his family gets killed. But why it's so easy, my contact is really messing with me, so that's why I keep on doing weird eye stuff. But why the switch flips in Frank Castle, and when he sees his family get killed, and why it's so not easy to, but he does flip the switch to I'm just going to punish everyone and go nuts, and why he's so skilled at being tactical and how he can be a one-man wrecking machine is because before he came back home to come home to that murder, he had a bunch of bodies on him. He killed people. So it's part of the Punisher story is that the switch flips back to his Vietnam days, to where you're forced to be to not value life like that and just kill the enemy. You revert back to military mode. that's not, that switch doesn't make sense when you make him a cop, and his skill set, and trust me, I see a lot of cops in my area. They ain't as skilled as elite SEALs. These guys, I'm not going to go there, but these police department cops, they don't receive the same training as military guys. So, and weapons training and all that, and tactical and all that kind of stuff. So that just annoyed the crap out of me, even though they don't spend a lot of time on like his cop history and the extended cut they do. But it kills me. That and the no skull is disgusting. It ruins it. The accuracy is way off because of it, let alone the butt naked seance in the sewers and all that weird crap. And the fact that Stan Lee was on set, I can only imagine how pissed Stan was during the filming of this movie, him trying to weigh in, because they just totally crapped on the character. I'm with Miracle on this one, dude. It's 0.5 for source accuracy.
All right, we got a 1 between them, so doesn't bode well.
No.
So we'll even have enough for serviceable for overall score. We'll find out. Roger, it's up to you, man. What say you, my friend?
Well, I mean, I think you guys are hit it right on the nose here. Every point that you guys were going to make, I was going to make. I'm not going to get too redundant here, but this is not the Punisher, not as we know it. Obviously the name is what they wanted in this movie, and somebody had already a plot and an idea out, and they shoehorned him in there to carry it out. And it just didn't work on really most any level. Because at least, somebody who knew about Frank Castle before, Kenny hit it on the nose. Most any other occupation except for a cop would be better than this. It makes no sense. His skill sets are for a policeman. My brother-in-law is one, is to protect people. It's to care about society and keep things in order. And he is a machine of disorder here. It makes sense, like Kenny was saying, that you put somebody in a situation like a guerrilla warfare or an insurgency or counterintelligence, that they have to have a steely focus and it's either kill or be killed, right? So you're right. It's like a switch went off, and that was his, machine mode of kill, right? And now he's in society, and he has a family. His family was what brought him into civility, what made him human, and that was abruptly taken from him. And so he reverts back to the engine of destruction that he was. That makes sense to me, right? That almost fugue state that he referred back to as, it's a war, but this kind is an urban war against the enemy, which is those that kill the innocents. None of that came through here. It looked more like a revenge film, and somehow he acquires these weapons and these skills that are not explained, and he just goes out and does what he does for some very amorphous and razor thin reason. Maybe he thinks this is a divine appointment. I don't know. It's so bizarre, and how that they took, like a Miracle was saying, you had to try hard to mess up for a Punisher film, and they didn't. You have a carbon copy perfect situation for a logical transition, and it explains about the weapons. It explains about his tactics. Like the one scene in the mansion was actually more Punisher like. He planned it. It was quiet. He didn't put himself at risk. That makes sense. This time he's like ziplining in with about 20 people machine gunning up at him. It's totally different than a military man would do, but and certainly not a cop. To put himself in that situation, it makes no sense whatsoever. The source material is just so far off. You're right. The motivation of the family is there. You have the name. You have the sort of aura, but very little else. Not having the skull, I thought that was a mistake, not in public, but once he shows up and before he mows, before he kills everybody, he wants that fear to take over so that they think about that and not him, not killing him. That is a psychological tactic. None of that was here. There were so many misfires as far as the source accuracy that honestly, I could give this a 0, but because they had just a few things that sort of reminded me very tangentially to the Punisher, I give it a 1. And I am like sweating that one because I think the 0.5 is probably the better score.
Yeah, I freely admit that I had some fanboy, probably a whole extra fanboy point, just for the feeling I got for like 2 months before this movie hit the VHS shelves. So I probably shouldn't include it there, but yeah, it's so far from the source material, it's not even funny. So what say you, chat? Throw your scores at us now while we continue to eviscerate this section, and let us know what you think, especially if you've seen the movie. So, especially if you've seen the movie back when I saw it in '89. So, when's the first time you guys saw this movie, by the way?
Oh, probably on video. It would have to be video.
Yeah.
I had a VHS copy, but
VHS. I think 91.
Yeah, and you couldn't
92 somewhere in there. It was before I got married.
You couldn't have seen it before 91. It wasn't, unless you had a bootleg.
Yeah, it was a bootleg. Yeah, it was a bootleg for sure.
But yeah, it was released on video in 91.
Yeah, my father had a restaurant, and the guy across the street had one of those video stores, and he would get stuff like from Europe that people would film and all that. I think it was one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was a Marvel Comics fan, so when I heard that he had it, I was like, hey, so he went in the back room and
Are you sure it was one of those? You're not thinking you watched this movie in its entirety and just thought it was a shitty bootleg?
I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was a bootleg. I'm like 95% sure it was a bootleg. Yeah. I think I remember like it was like subtitled in German or something.
Oh no.
And Dolph did the subtitles. Yeah, he did the overdubs.
I remember this coming out because I was working at a video store in 1990 in high school, like an actual video store with cassettes.
Yeah, I remember that. I even recorded. I actually recorded the promo or the trailer for it off the wherever that channel station was. It would come on.
That intro that I posted on Instagram, because I was like, dude, that was such a cool intro. I thought like the scores. I know we didn't talk about score much, but the score is pretty good in this. I thought.
Yeah.
Disagree. I totally disagree.
I like the theme music.
Hugely overbearing, man.
Oh, I don't know. I think he had like a theme. They established a theme song right in the front end, which I thought was cool. And I like this kind of whatever you call that clip show in the beginning. And yeah, they replayed it a couple times. You could tell they were trying to make it like the Punisher theme.
Yeah. I didn't mind that. Although
they made it with me. I thought it sounded pretty badass.
They stole that that circle out from Night Gallery. That was the same intro in Night Gallery.
Night Gallery and
on the outside.
Yeah, it was cool that they actually went through the trouble of giving him his own like personalized score and his own theme music. I wasn't crazy about it though. I didn't like it. It was like that dun dun dun. It didn't really fit for me. Too bombastic.
90 some kills and that was bombastic?
Yeah. Well, the kills made sense, but the big, huge, like screeching music just didn't make any sense to me.
I mean, I didn't think it
felt like a movie
great.
monster.
It was okay, I mean, listen, we can knock a lot more than the soundtrack on this. Right?
That was pretty less egregious than some of the other things in here, but yeah. So I think we got most of the scores. So if you want to go ahead and throw those at me, Raj, we will move this Dog and Pony show on.
All right, here we go. 1. Biggie went 3.
3.
Scott went 0.5. George 0.5. Novamad 0.5. J Hood 1. Russ 1. Biggie comes in with the outlier on this one.
Yeah, he likes to do that sometimes.
Oh man, Biggie's one of those like if he was back in the '60s, he'd be one of those counterculture guys, like Robert Crumb.
Yeah.
Well, chat gives it a 1, and there's like about 20 numbers after the decimal there. So yeah, you're really stretching the bounds of math here. So there we go. One from the chat seems fitting. It's just the blueprint is right there. It's not like a complicated backstory like Superman's. It's not like Batman's. I mean, that wasn't overly complicated, but they had so much history at that point in the book. The Punisher wasn't that old of a property for Marvel. You know what I mean? It'd been around since the 70s, but he only had his own run. I think since 86 is when it started again, or 87. So other than the miniseries, so it wasn't a ton of stuff to go through. It's like
85, I think, was 85 or 86, the miniseries.
Yeah, I think I was around there when Volume 2 came out. So it was like, read through the 20 issues of source material, and then there you go. At least put something. That's why I really think this was another movie, and they just slapped the Punisher's name on it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Shoehorned in there, no doubt.
But
we just bought Marvel Comics. Let's put this into a Punisher movie.
The biggest shame of it is that, like, sometimes, like in 1989, they could, even if they wanted to, they couldn't make an Avengers Infinity War. Okay, they couldn't do Thanos. They couldn't
even make a Spider-Man. So they tried.
And you can't even blame them. Like, it'd be hard to do Spider-Man with
just practical effects. Yeah.
But there's no limitations. You could do a great, accurate, well done Punisher movie with he is a kind of like an 80s action movie. I mean, there's no limitations to it. So that's the most disappointing part. Is like, we really weren't restricted by budget or technology. You could have, it's too bad.
Yeah. I think I'd like to see like a John Bernthal Punisher movie. I think he does a great job with the Punisher. The Netflix guy.
Yeah, he talks too much though.
That weird roar he does. I think like people make.
Oh yeah, he's like. He does that in the very first episode of the second season when he punches that chick out that he just pinned to the wall. He's like, it's like, what was that for? She's pinned to the wall. She's not going anywhere. What are you roaring for?
He's not that bad. I mean, he's okay.
But all right, so let's get to our conclusions here. Let's talk about some overall scores. Should be pretty easy for some of us, but Dave, why don't you go ahead and lead us off with your overall ranking of this movie?
Well, overall, I mean, I like, what can I say? Obviously, my grades so far, in my opinion, this movie are no secret. So overall, I gave the movie a total of 1. Only because for a long time it was the best Marvel movie there was. I can give it a point for that. It was better than Howard the Duck.
Faint praise.
True.
It's like
back then. Yeah, I know. It's like being the best hockey player in Paraguay.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, you're the best, skier in Saudi Arabia. Great. You're doing a good job there, man.
All right, so 1 it is. Let's see. You made a few words on that one. Oh, someone's drag racing in Boston. It sounds like. Is that?
That's it.
Oh, that's you. That neighborhood again. Kenneth, my friend, you want to throw us the score you gave for the overall product of this movie?
Sure. My overall grade is probably going to be a lot higher than you guys think, because the mortal sin of this movie is the source accuracy and Dolph's acting, right? Those two things, it weighs pretty damn heavily on the movie, and it really just bums me out that they couldn't make it the Punisher. But if I take that out, and as an appreciator of 80s action movies, if I could just detach myself from like, all right, I never heard of the Punisher before, right? Say I had no comic book knowledge, I would totally dig this movie. And I do totally dig this movie. As soon as I, just have to let go of the Punisher trademark. But once I get out of my feelings on that, this is exactly what I love. This is one of the better 80s action movies to me. That doesn't drag. There's not a lot of filler. Pretty good action. I love the Yakuza crime mob boss. Little dialogue, hero, killer, who's cutthroat. Like, dude, there's a lot redeeming. And that's why I wanted to give a high score to the script, which I just had to give the credit. I'd have to put the credit somewhere. I think it falls in, for me, like, the script of it. I didn't need it to do too much. It did what I want from the action movies. So with all that taken into account, I do have to knock points down, of course, because we're all talking overall of it not being a Punisher movie. Very disappointing. And Dolph sucks. I wish they did put someone else in. Like, someone said Stallone. Sure, he'd be better. Anyone would be better. But I'm still giving it a 3 overall because to me it's a good 80s action movie. It's just not a Punisher movie.
All right, nice salient points there.
Thank you.
Boom.
Wah, wah.
No happiness from the peanut gallery. So, Roger, my friend, what was your take on the overall of this movie?
Well, I mean, I kind of see where Kenny is coming from. There's a sort of kind of weird holistic value to this movie. It's better than the sum of its parts, if that makes any sense. Because at the end of the day, I enjoyed it more than I care to admit.
Right, it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like Kenny was saying, when I look at the movie as a comic fan, I have certain expectations, and I bring certain knowledge into it. So that is always going to be holding me back to some degree, right? But when I finished this movie, I didn't feel that I was getting, ripped off, for example, emotionally. I didn't feel that it expected something of me that it didn't deliver. It is what it is. It's an action flick. The acting is terrible. The storyline is awful. I can rattle off so many that are like this and have no payoff. This one, at least, it kind of left me with, hey, it's not that bad. It's not so bad that it's good. It's just not that bad. So I'm very torn because if I do it by the numbers, this should get like a 1.5, but I don't think that that's right. I think it's a little better than that. I think when everything is pushed together with all its problems, it has an entertainment value that's ineffable, but it's there, right? So I'm going to go with a 2. It's almost a 2.5. If it wasn't because it bothered me so much that they were so frustrating. It was so frustrating to have, essentially a softball thrown at you and, you swing and miss. I might have enjoyed it as an average movie. As it is, I give it a 2.
All right, a 2 from Roger. Look at that. Good points there.
Very generous, sir.
We ain't seen nothing yet. And I give this movie a 5, and let me tell you why. No, but
the Punisher fan comes out right there.
I'm going to give this 2 different scores right now. My mean average score here as a Punisher movie was 2.5. This movie, I think, deserves a better grade than that. If you take the Punisher title out, make Frank John Smith, the rogue ex-cop or ex-military guy, and you got one hell of an action movie for the 80s. This, like I said, big neon sign says 80s action movie on it. A huge body count. It makes the Schwarzenegger movie look tame by comparison. Some people were saying they'd like to see Stallone in this role, only for his acting. I don't think he's imposing enough a figure to pull off the Punisher. Punisher towers over most people, even in the comic books. He's like 6'4", 240 in the I think his bio cards or whatever. And Stallone can't pull that off. They had to put him on a box like they used to do with Alan Ladd back in the old westerns. But so they just need to find another big guy who can emote more. Probably a stunt guy would have been just fine and give him even less dialogue, and they'd have been better off. But que sera, sera. I'm going to give this movie a 3.5 just because I could see myself watching this again, and I will watch it again because I'm going to review it on the channel here eventually. But I, like Kenny said, I didn't feel cheated when I watched this movie. I felt like I had a good time with it, and I genuinely kind of laughed a few times because this is just so over the top ridiculous. I remember when they were first coming down like the skee ball or the wacky slide in the amusement park, just firing machine guns from the hip. It was so stupid and over the top, and I just freaking loved it, man. It's like, this is so stupid and ridiculous, but you have to like it. As far as action movies goes, over the top, it's 80s, it's bombastic, the body count is enormous. There's some people disagree on this, but at least there's a lot of physical action in this, so it wasn't just shooting, a lot of hand-to-hand fighting in this. They tried to do some interesting things with the plot by bringing in another crime family, and adding that aspect there. Get rid of the stupid cop side story. Make it, of course, I want to see more Punisher. I want him to be the Punisher, but that's not what we're going to get in this movie. And I don't know. I just found it fun, man. I would love to have a group of guys over there or the house and just sit there and lambaste it and watch it again. And I think have a good time with it. So I don't feel like it wasted my time. And I'm not really an action movie guy, to be honest with you. I don't have a ton of them at the house. I got a few of the great 80s ones, like, of course, Predator and Aliens, that sort of things. But this is not really my genre even. But I still kind of enjoyed this movie. So whether my enjoyment was tainted by my old fanboyism, I don't think so, because I would be pretty hard on it now. But as a Punisher movie, I give it 2.5. And at least they tried, at least somewhat. They didn't do very good with it, but at least they tried to bring a property from the comics that I love to the public. And as just regular old action movie from the 80s, I give it a 3.5. I think this is just about as good as 80s action movies get. That's a low bar to set, but yeah, I'm going to give that 3.5.
Yikes. 3.5.
Incredulous over there.
Wasn't it Miracle that pulled a 5.0 for the Fire and Ice movie? So Miracle, you can't say anything about
that movie was a slog. That was tough to get
about what?
I listen, I'm old. I forget what I had for lunch, but I never forget stuff, like this. This stuff this is long-term memory stuff.
I wouldn't friggin' watch this movie on a bed. I'd rather watch Chud. I really would. I will never, I swear, I will never watch this movie again. As a matter of fact, it is like, as soon as this broadcast is over, out of my head. Along with the Thomas Jane movie and the Ray Stevens movie. No more. Someday I wish they'd make a Punisher movie. I do.
Yeah.
It'd be like the best thing ever.
Yeah, I've never actually seen the Warzone movie. I would rather watch this than the Tom Jane one, though. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. Dude.
Another cop Punisher.
Yep.
I know.
Well, at least they gave him a background, though, because he was special forces before he became a cop. So at least they gave him that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
So what was the chat?
let me tabulate real fast here. Let's see.
I don't think we do a chat overall.
We don't normally do it, but I got the number right here. So
Well,
I'll
we
just
just,
go
we just add, we just add up the. Hey, Reggie Collects is in here. He says,
we got an all-star tonight. Cat score was a 2.
We'll have Reggie in if he wants to review Shut Down.
What up, Reggie?
Yes, we said cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. So
Yep.
I remember that commercial well, too, because we used to have these sewer pipes you could get into in my neighborhood if you crawled under the storm drain. So we used to go down there and dare ourselves to see how far we could go down there.
And that's when the Chud's got you.
Yeah, we've talked about this movie longer than what the movie is. Yeah.
Yeah, no
We
doubt.
did. We really did.
I had a good time with it. So
I
I could have bitched about this movie like the last 2 hours, man. All by myself. I could have just been like, what the F?
Good to see you too, Reggie. We're honored
see you,
you
Reggie.
came by, buddy.
Yeah, good to
you came in just in time to watch us wrap up. So, all right. So we had not great scores toniit's but a few that were surprising.
Some of us,
Guys, do yourself a favor. Don't watch this movie.
me and Genome gave it a little more love.
Yeah.
It's. I think all of us agree, though. It gets no love for being a punish for the source accuracy is so
Terrible.
the ball was dropped so bad on it.
Terrible. But to me, it's watchable. Unlike a lot of movies, it's watchable. It's not. I mean, I'm like kind of Miracle. I don't really want to see this again. I think I got it, but it's not terrible. It's just okay.
I think when it comes to like real genre stuff, like your mileage varies. Like I think there's like I'm not like a big sci-fi movie, horror for sure. Like I really don't like horror movies. I have very little patience for them. But there are people that are into like Gino, who I know is a connoisseur of, especially the old '80s ones, it seems. But in general, that's his bag. So he could probably revisit a lot of those old ones. Me, these old action movies, totally up my alley. So it holds up good through my eyes, But again, this is kind of my genre, so just depends. But if you like action movies, I'd say, especially '80s ones, definitely watch this if you haven't. It's worth it.
Yeah, Kenny said he saw it for free. So if nothing else, if you've never seen it, have even the slightest interest, don't go by what we say. See what you think. But
yeah, that's right. It's on YouTube. You can click right from here and go there. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you like '80s movies, especially action ones, do yourself a favor. Don't watch this movie.
Oh,
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I
It is that bad.
wouldn't recommend it, but I would say give it a watch at least. Give it one try. That's what I would say.
I'd rather like turn this off on an airplane and stare out the window.
You just want to put in your Will and Grace reruns. I don't want to hear it, man. All right, so
we having Jay Hood come in to do that. A-OK?
I don't see him in.
I think he's gonna do it on his channel.
He's probably gonna do it on his channel. I don't see him as
That was
video.
my
So,
understanding, yeah.
so I'll go ahead and start wrapping things up. So this is the section here where we talk about what's going on the channel. So Dave, why don't you lead us off? What's going on in Mr. Miracle's world here in the near future?
Just keep on rolling. Keep doing my, undervalued videos. I'll have another one next week, and put one out last week that's been doing all right. Some good specs on there. So yeah, just gonna keep on rolling, brother.
I like to see is just maybe one day like go through all of your old ones and start tabulating like how your value is done with your predictions. That'd be kind of a fun video to watch. It's like, okay, I was right on this one. It's went up 300% in a year.
That was kind of that's not a bad idea, David. That's good.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that. So Kenneth, my friend, what's up with you?
Oh man, the big weekend, Power Hour. We kind of figure out what we're gonna do, who's gonna be the guest. Usually like an hour or two before the show, right, Big? So we're probably gonna have a guest or two. We're just gonna freestyle it, but that's what that show is. It's just a casual hang, a place to chill and unwind at the end of the week, and we just have some laughs and we don't take ourselves too seriously. So that's popping. Me and my man Biggie Shaq with a TBD guest, and then on Saturday. It's another 84 auction, brother. That's always a good time when those pop up. Auction on my channel, 8 p.m. Eastern, Saturday night. I'm going to do a preview video. I think I got the weekend off from work, so I'm going to have time to put a nice little preview video up so you can see what I have in store to put up. And, I like to, especially lately, I like to do a 3-man panel. Me, my man, First Edition Comics, one of the best in the game for auction stuff. He's the man. He always has great stuff.
Not a bad cheek either.
Yeah, right. And I like to try to have the other member be someone who's just like not always in the auction scene, and maybe someone that you haven't seen before and seen what they have to offer, and give them a chance to put some books out. I've had Roger on, Lawrence, and this Saturday, my main man, Unruly Simeon, brother, says he's got some great lots. And if I remember, he said, I got some good Silver Age stuff that I could put up. So I haven't seen any of it yet, but that's going to be fun. It's going to be hanging out with me first, Unruly Simeon, putting up lots, and Immortal Biggie Shaq is always there for color commentary throughout. So yeah, man, that's what's going on my channel in the next few days.
All right, Roger, what's coming down the pipe in Medarog land?
Not a whole lot. I just finished up my Master of Kung Fu 3-part series.
I need to watch the third video on that.
This past Tuesday, I went through all his Bronze Age appearances, and I gave my impressions of how he grew through the series and the storylines, and ultimately, I think what was a perfect finale for him. And on Sunday, a very special live stream that I'm hosting, and we're going to be showing, if not a complete set, most of the treasury editions that were made during the 70s and 80s by Marvel, DC, I think a few by Charlton and some independent publishers. The aforementioned King of Comicdom, Lawrence, is going to be in there. Shannon, solid string 5 bottom end, solid 5-string bottom end. Great longtime collector. Myself, Bub is going to join us, believe it or not. And there may be a very special guest who has never been on a live stream before, but has perhaps the greatest collection on YouTube. Perhaps.
Really?
So I'm trying to see if he'll be available. He's a friend of mine, but he's going to try to work it in. So Sunday, I think at 3:30 Eastern, because, Jay Hood Creative is also going to join us. The guy who won here. He's also going to be joining us 3:30 Eastern because, us older guys, It's right after nap time and right before dinner time.
Right before the dinner special at 4:30 p.m. All right,
Right.
gotcha.
So, we have it's about a 1 hour show. We're going to squeeze it in there. And so that's what's going on with me for this next few days.
Groovy. Bub did. I forgot to mention that. Yes, there was 2 kills that were not attributed to the Punisher in this movie. That was the 2 kids in the school bus when he beat that guy's fingers who was hanging on the window, and then he got ran over when he fell.
Ran over,
Yeah.
So yeah, they are killers. Good point there, Bub. All right, good times. So yep, channel is as usually goes, kind of variety central. Just uploaded my latest review. That was Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It is up for your viewing pleasure. I tried to make it shorter, and it still went up in half an hour. So
it was not shorter.
It's relative term, I guess. I have, of course, more review content. I got my next cover of the week picked out. I just got to shoot the video. I need to do another contest entry too. I can't remember whose it was. I think 200 subscribers contest where you show 3 different artists that don't get talked about enough. I have to go look it up, remember who it was. But so I got to drop that one. What's that?
I think that's Man Cave's contest, isn't it?
Was that Man Cave's? Yeah, I can't remember. But I also got to do, I think I got 2 more of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies to do, and I'll be done with that series. Then I have to move on to another horror series. I actually had another viewer request to review, and that'll be Tron before too much longer, probably after I get done with the Nightmare on Elm Street. So we got done watching that last week down there in the movie room. I uploaded my recent review of Goblin Commander Unleash the Horde from PS2 days from my classic movie or game series.
Wow.
Yeah, that's taking it back to unknown gems. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just kind of par for the course. Lots of different stuff coming around. I didn't know Tron 3 was coming around. Interesting. Hope it's better than the last one. But so that is what's going on. So, hey, I want to thank everybody on the panel and in the chat for making this the best comic book related show on YouTube, patent pending. We will be here in 2 more weeks. Actually, whose channel are we going to do that on? I didn't really discuss that. I guess yours, Roger, right?
No, I just did mine last time.
Well, we just need a channel host. Maybe J-Hood can host it there. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it if you want. I don't mind, but I just did it last time. But
I'll get with them. We'll find out where we're going to do it. So
I don't mind at all. If he wants to do it on mine, that's fine, dandy. Yeah, no problem.
Okay. I was just thinking you got the biggest channel, so it's probably the best. But
that doesn't matter.
You're the biggest deal of us all,
That doesn't matter.
You got all that name recognition. You can make a Punisher movie next. All right. So, but once again, thanks for all the chat that stayed with us tonight. You truly make this show worth doing.
Can we end on? I got one thing we can end on when you're ready.
Okay. But yep. So once again, thanks again. I can't even show my Punisher books that are across the room, but good stuff there. It was fun to do a movie.
That's the Punisher right there, people.
Yeah.
There he is, right there.
Yeah, where was Dolph's white boots? God dang it.
In the big giant bowl of freaking canisters around his waist.
And notice the female here he's protecting. Talking about every trope you can get in. He's shooting up everybody.
He's like Conan with guns.
Yeah.
Right there. I forgot to mention your backdrop there, Dave, by the way. That was a nice touch.
Yeah, very nice touch with the ASM 129.
129 over there. And fucking Punisher Wolverine 6 and 7 War Journal. Very nice.
You have 2 of them?
Yep.
2 129s. The rich get richer. Why don't you send me one of them things?
Yeah, no.
Is one of them a fax or?
Oh, that's
no.
it. I'm sliding in your DMs, brother. We're gonna figure out something for that second copy you have.
But anyway, we're going to wrap the show up, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, possibly on Jay Hood's channel, but more than that to be announced. And we're going to be going over Wildcats number 21. So thanks again for watching. And if you will go ahead and get us out of here on whatever note you want to talk about, we'll say goodbye.
Shout out to my boy Falcon Hood 424. I'm not familiar with who that user is on Instagram.
That's Scott Neely. That's Scott.
I didn't know your alias on IG. Yeah. My boy Scott Neely. Can you full screen that?
Hold on 1 second.
Shout out to you, my boy Scott Neely, because he said a word that us use on graders notes a lot before calculators. People used in
abacus.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Oh, Abagold, where have you gone?
I think he's a math teacher.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh man, well that was pretty creative use of memery. So all right, thanks again for that good closer, and thanks again once again chat for watching and sticking with us for this very long show. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, and until then, take care.
Bye.
Now go back and watch The Punisher, Dave.